All right, man. Well, that's cool. Let's kick it though. So today, welcome to the Former Extra Guys podcast officially now. So today I got Justin Eggen on. He is a poet, author. I don't know how you want to describe yourself. Combat engineer, was a combat engineer in the Marine Corps, correct? So thanks for coming on the show, man. I've talked on the podcast a couple times about how combat engineers had a really shitty job during the global war on terrorism, probably in every war, but I don't really know the experience. I'm sure it kind of translates to older wars and stuff like that, but doing route clearance, out there with the Valen up front, sweeping roads in front of patrols and stuff like that, and everything. It's a tough job, and I know we talked about it when I had we were talking about it on I think I can't remember exactly which one we were talking about, Sangin though, and how many combat engineers were killed there and stuff like that. So I'm glad to have you on, and we can kind of talk about some of the stuff that combat engineers do and some of the misconceptions maybe with combat engineers and stuff like that. I've had one other combat engineer on, but he was a reservist, and he was a reservist basically while he was in college, and then went to the officer side and became an infantry officer, Charles Benbow, who's been on a few times. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get started, man, and if you want, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, why you decided to join the military, and why the Marine Corps specifically.
All right, so my name is Justin Eggen. Thank you for having me on.
For sure.
I don't know really how would I describe it. I guess it's like a poet, veteran, whatever it would be. But how I joined the Marine Corps, how I even got there, right? I know my grandfather was in World War II. I guess a lot of us could say that, right? But he wasn't like in World War II. He was kind of stationed up in Alaska and towards the tail end of the European conflict being over with. And he was up there in Alaska kind of like waiting for like the Russians to come over, I guess, whatever is like what he would tell us and whenever we were like growing up. But he was in the military, so I kind of had like that, right? And my other side of my grandpa, his brothers were in World War II. One of them was an infantryman, and the other one was a tank driver, and they were both in Europe, and then they both went to the Philippines and to Okinawa and stuff like that towards the end of the Japanese conflict, whatever. But so I had like this little like understanding of like military background, right? From their understanding, like hearing the stories from my grandfather and how they came back and like all kind of like messed up and stuff. But I just kind of like had that, and then when I got out of high school, there was like a year right out of high school where I was like, I don't really know what to do with my life, and I'm kind of like, quote unquote, like lost, I guess. Like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do, blah blah blah. And then something like clicked, man. Something happened, and I just was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the Marine Corps, and it was just, if I was not gonna join the Army, because I tried joining the Army when I was 17, to be honest with you. I tried joining the Army when I was 17. And I tried going like airborne. My mom, she wouldn't sign the paperwork. She was like, I'm not going to sign it. You're too young. You need to wait until you're older, and then you can figure it out for yourself. And you don't need a parent to sign for you. She's like, it's only like a year or so away, so just wait. And I was like, all right. But then again, I waited a year out of high school, so that was like a 2-year gap from me trying to join the Army to when I was like, all right, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. But finally, I was like, my cousin was gonna go join the Navy, and he was like, I'm gonna go join the Navy. And I was like, dude, please don't join the Navy. Like, dude, if you're going to join the military, like, let's go to the Marine Corps with me. Like, I'm going to the Marine Corps recruiter today, blah, blah, blah. And he went to the Marine Corps recruiter with me. And, yeah, that was in, like, the end of February 2008. And then on Mother's Day 2008, we arrived at Parris Island, like, at, like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night or some shit, whatever it was.
Hell yeah, man. So you went on the buddy program, huh?
Yeah, me and my cousin, they didn't even know that we were, like, cousins, because basically, as soon as we got there, like, he has a different last name than I do, and it's funny, because his last name is Hatcher, and my last name is Eggen, and my mom's maiden name is Hatcher. My dad's last name is Eggen, so my mom always would make jokes like cracked an egg, or I hatched an egg or whatever it is, they would say some stupid shit. But then my cousin was like there, so he was a Hatcher and I was Eggen, and they had no idea that we were cousins, right? So we were like, we were kind of like getting away with it, but by the end of it, they find out that we were like, there on like the buddy program, that we were cousins, and they started calling us the sisters.
That's funny.
And they started fucking with us towards the end, but yeah.
So did they know you were on the buddy program at all, or they
No.
just didn't know you? Oh, really? So
Yeah.
I've heard I know I've known a few people that have come in on their buddy program, and I've heard mixed reviews. Some people say that like no one even knows, and as soon as you get there, you're split up, so it doesn't matter if you're on the buddy program anyway. And I've had other guys say
Right.
that they put them right next to each other in the squad bay. So I guess it all depends on when you go and what company and stuff.
Yeah, so basically, as soon as we got, I mean, you know, you've been to Paris Island,
Mm-hmm.
so like, you know, when you get there, they put you in, you get funneled into these like big kind of like classroom type of rooms,
Yep.
and there's like, you know, whatever there is, like 150 people in the room, and they literally, this is literally what my memory recalls in my mind, is a guy standing there in this big ass room, and this is after we made our call and everything, and we were done with like the receive, you know, we got to where like, all right, now we're gonna go, and basically, I forgot what was happened afterwards.
You
Like
do the
either
paperwork and stuff.
we were either gonna go do the paperwork right afterwards, or we did it, or we just got done doing the paperwork, and now they're like splitting us because they're basically splitting us into platoons. They basically went like this, and they go, this is platoon 1050, and this is platoon 1049. You guys go out this door, and you guys go out that door, and that's basically kind of how they. That's basically essentially how they told us that we were in a platoon. So when me and my cousin walked in together, we were together in that same like little thing. Like we kind of stayed in the same area, right? Like we knew to stay in the same kind of like cluster, I guess. You
Yeah.
know, like if we could stay in the same cluster and not get separated too far, then like we could kind of maybe ride it out in the same platoon. You know, but it wasn't guaranteed that we'd be in the same platoon. I mean, at least from my experience, that's not what happened. You know.
Yeah, for sure. That's different than when I got there. So when I got there, the whole thing was different for me anyways. So for those that don't know, when you go to Paris Island from Indiana, you know, I mean, that's where I came from, and which normally you go to San Diego for boot camp, and I've mentioned it on here a couple times, but I requested to go to Paris Island because that's what I'd always read about in the books and stuff, you know, and I was like, I want the like classic Marine Corps experience, so I want to go to Paris Island. So you fly to Savannah, and then in Savannah, Georgia, at the airport, you find they're just like, go to Savannah, and there'll be some Marines there waiting on you. There's no one waiting. So we're like walking around the airport, and there was like three of us. And I remember seeing this girl, and now I know her, Charlie's, but no rank. So she was a private. And I'm like, hey, do you know where the Marine reception place is? And she just started screaming at me, and I'm like, okay. And she walks us she walks us to this back room, makes us empty our pockets and stuff. And then you're supposed to sit in that room and wait on the buses to get there. But there was like a duty van going to Paris Island. So they're like, hey, you 6, get in the duty van. So I took a duty van. And the driver, I think he was like a recruiter or something, but he was just like, all right, you guys ready? Like he was just like, you want me to put on some music? Like he was super chill like the whole way to Paris Island. And then, you know, the classic like, all right, we're coming up to the gate, go ahead and put your heads down. And as he tells us this, Lose Yourself by Eminem starts playing on the radio. I swear to God, I'm just like, oh my God, now I'm getting all pumped up, you know, go through the gate. He's like, you can raise your head. He's like, look to the left and look to the right. And he's like, you see all that? That's what separates you from the real world. And it's like, for those that don't know, it's like big swampy, brackish water like area. And then we pull up, and then the drill instructor, it's way less cool, I guess, for him to stick his head in the back of a duty van and yell at us rather than jump on the school bus. But we did that whole thing. You go through the doors, you make the phone call. No one answered. I couldn't get anyone to answer the phone. So I pretended, because I saw like 4 drill instructors, like 3 phones down, screaming at some dude that couldn't get a hold of his family. So I pretended like I had my mom on the phone.
Ridiculing him because he doesn't have anything to do. Like, you suck, blah, blah.
Yeah, nobody was answering the phone. I was like, damn it. You know, this is 06, so cell phones were around, but they weren't like huge, and people weren't carrying them around constantly. But anyways, and then I remember sitting in the classroom. Man, I'm going to tell, well, this is, I want this podcast to be mostly about you, so I won't go into this other story, but it's a funny one. But sitting in the classroom, and they just on loop, the dangers of Paris Island and the history of Paris Island. It was like 2 videos on loop, and it was just basically like telling you, if you try to escape here, you're going to die, so just finish.
Oh my God, that's great though. That's so intimidating when you get there. You're like, oh man, this is not good. I've entered the danger zone.
Yeah, and I have a really funny story. I want to say, for those that haven't heard it, it's one of my least listened to episodes. It's funny. It's one of the first ones. It's only audio. It's either Cosmo 1 or Cosmo 2. for those listening, check that out. I talk about taking a laxative 2 days before boot camp, and it didn't hit me until I got to Parris Island. So if you want to hear what that experience was like, go ahead and go back and listen to those episodes. But so you get to Parris Island, you do boot camp. Did you come in as an engineer, as a combat engineer? Was that, or did you come in open contract? How did that work?
So there's a terrible story with that, and I feel basically my drill instructor told me that I was going in as an 0300 infantry, whatever, it's like open infantry, whatever. It's like open infantry contract essentially. It's like 0300. It's like 0300, and they give you in between like rifleman, mortarman, machine gunner, and like assaultman or whatever it is, right? And I signed a bunch of paperwork, right, under the assumptions, like all hyped and stuff, that I was going to do this. And when it came time to like to receive your orders, I got a big old paperwork, and I had a big red stamp on it. It said void, and I flipped it over, and it said B6 ground option. And I was like, what the fuck is ground option, and where the fuck did this go? And I was like asking the person who was like giving us our orders and stuff in the room, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It says void, so whatever you have is what you have. And I flipped it open, and it said B6 ground option. And I said, what the fuck is ground option, right? So I was like, well, I mean, it's ground option. I mean, I obviously am not getting whatever I thought I was getting. So I flip it open, and it says B6 ground option, and I look at it, and it was like field artillery, fucking water something or other, like radio operator, communication specialist, whatever it was, and then they had like combat engineer on there. And then I was like, well, fuck. So then I went to MCT, and I had no idea what my job was.
That sucks going into the unknown like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like I went into Parris Island with the understanding, like, okay, I'm gonna go. This is what my job is, right? Like I thought I was going in like not open contract B6 ground option. I thought it was like 30300 contract, whatever that was. Maybe it was like, obviously, like, super naive of me, but I just like jumped into it. I didn't really like, I guess maybe do my research, but who knows? It was 2008. I don't really have much recollection of like the time frame and like what happened leading up to it. Like,
yeah,
just kind of like was one of those things that happened in a span of like within a 60-day period of all the paperwork and stuff. But anyway, yeah, I got out of there, and I went to MCT. And then I got to MCT and did all that the month of MCT. And then at the end of MCT, they call off your MOS. They call off your last four of your social security. And then they call off your 4-digit MOS identification number.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I sat there, and I was in my platoon, and I had like a green tab for my platoon. We were like third platoon or whatever it was at MCT. Like MCT, there was a hurricane that hit, so we took a bunch of buses back. We didn't even get to like hike back or whatever it was. Like, MCT was just kind of like, it was just
that's
like,
how I felt too.
Yeah, it's just like whatever, dude. Like it was cool because we got to go out and go lob out nades and go shoot 50 cals and go do that kind of stuff. But like it was also dumb because like there was a bunch of like
a lot of check in the box.
Well, yeah, that like that kind of thing. But for me, it was more like it was really like this stupid shit would like happen. Like there was a guy that would go run through the girls' showers, and you're like, all right, so like why'd you do that? Now we have to sit here and listen to them talk to us for a good like 6 hours, or like on some safety stand down, some shit, you know what I mean? About somebody just doing something stupid, or like the staff sergeant that has 2 female PFCs in the woods. Like you're like, dude.
That never happened while I was there, but I've heard about it before.
It's just like, what is this, right? You're like, what is even going on? Like, this is, now you're taking up like my time away from like, like some cool training that I think I could be doing, like some cool stuff that I would think would be cool at the time,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, they read off to like, they read my last 4, and then they go 13, 137, but they read it like 1371. They didn't read it like 1371. They were like, 1371. And I was like, what the fuck's a 1371? And I heard one of my buddies who was in my boot camp platoon, and he was in my MCT platoon too, and he was a 1371, and he was like, oh, and I saw him, and I was like, hey, what's a 1371? And he goes, you know those guys in Vietnam with the metal detectors looking for booby traps and stuff? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you're gonna be doing that, but like in Iraq. I was like, I don't want to do that, dude. Like,
that doesn't sound cool.
That doesn't sound fun at all. Like, I thought that, you give me like a rifle, give me like a saw or a 240, we go like to go do fucking work, dude. Like, you're telling me I gotta exchange that for like a metal detector and like C4 and stuff? I mean, I guess, but I mean, if that's what I'm doing, I'm gonna stay alive if that's what I'm gonna do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
do it right.
yeah, but if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do it right. So then they basically shuttled us from MCT Camp Geiger over to Combat Engineer School, which was in Courthouse Bay, North Carolina. And when we went to Courthouse Bay, it was before they built all the new second CB, all the new stuff and the barracks and stuff out in Courthouse Bay. Courthouse Bay was like no man's land, dude. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing out there when I was there. It was just
Hmm.
like there was the what is that? The other school that's out there, I think the not journeymen's or shit, but they're like journeyman's like an evolved level, but it's like an electrician.
Oh,
There
really?
you go. Yeah, like the Marine Corps electricians.
Oh, I
Like
didn't
they
know that.
climb up, like yeah, they climb up the poles and they fix like the
Yeah,
wiring and
the
stuff. The
lineman
electrician.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like those guys. So like they were out there, like they were stationed out there. Their school was out there with us, and so it was like the Coast Guard had a little like station out there because of the inlet right
Hmm.
behind Camp Lejeune. So like it was a pretty like little small little area. And when I got there, combat engineers, there's like a few different ways you can be a combat engineer, right? You can either go like to the air wing and do like construction and build like, runways, and you can go build like schools, you can go build, like tents and all type. You can go put up like infrastructure type things, right?
Hmm.
You can go build stuff. And then you can go to like, the MLG, you can go like the group side of the Marine Corps, and then you can do like bridging, and then I don't really know what the group does. I mean, I'm assuming that they do bridging because that's what I would always see out there, right? That's like support group. They need to go put bridges out so like everybody, like the log logistics trains can get to where they're going, right? So that's like in my mind. They're doing bridging out there because when you get to division, you're a combat engineer. You do metal detection or mine detection and demolition, right? So those are the two things that you do. And so when you're a combat engineer at the schoolhouse, you're doing all these things at the schoolhouse over 2 months. Well, the first month is like essentially dedicated to like construction, bridging, and like logging, like putting up, like taking down trees and logging with the trees and putting up the bridges and breaking down the steel girder, the iron girder, steel girder bridges, the big green things.
Yeah.
Taking and putting down those, and then doing the wood, and also doing construction, right? And then once we got done with that, then they put us into like learning how to do like mines. So we learned how to do mines. Actually, I think we learned how to do explosives first. Yeah, we learned how to do explosives first. So we learned how to do like C4, TNT, dynamite, like REFs, like basically learning how to do basically how to how to how to fucking run charges, dude. How to do like wall charges,
Just
door
regular
charges.
demo. Yeah.
Yeah, how to like run demo, and how to really get down and dirty with demo, and how to really get good at it, right? And then so we did that, and then once we got done with that, then we did the metal like mine detection, and that was really fun because I was like, all right, well that's probably what I'm going to really be doing, right? So let me get good at these two things. And when we got at the school, I got really good at the demo, and I got really good at the mine detection. And anybody that went to the school with me can attest that was there. There was like 30 other kids at that school that was Marines with me, but there's only two of us that got hundreds on the demolition test, and I got 100 on the demolition test. And I'm pretty proud about that because I
That's
got to
cool.
blow up some charges. Like they're like, if you get 100 on a test, then you get to go blow up the charges like personally, essentially. And we got to go ring up some C4 charges out by the water where like the demo pit was at by the schoolhouse. And basically, there's like a little, like about 50, maybe like 20, 30 yards away from that, like big pit, is like a little mound on the ground, like about a foot high, 2 feet high. And then next to that, there's like a little bunker where like the instructors can go and stand at and go and stand inside, right? Like a little real deal bunker like in the
Hmm.
ground, like made out of wood steps in the ground and shit. And then all the students got to sit like 100 yards, 150 yards back behind the safety line, right? There's a safety line, so all the other students had to sit back there. But since I got 100 on a test, I got to go up and go blow the charge like up front. Well, they gave me the clapper, and they basically gave me the clapper, and they were like, all right, lay down right here, and they put me in the prone position in that little mound, and then they went in the bunker, and I was like, what the fuck, like, hold on, dude, you guys just went in the bunker, like, am I gonna go in the bunker? Like, no, no, dude, it'll be cool. You'll be
You're
fine.
fine. You're totally
Yeah,
fine.
they're like, dude, it'll be cool as fuck. You'll be fine. I was like, all right, dude, cool. So like I'm laying there, and they're like, all right, blah, 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 whatever it is, fire in the hole, fire in the hole, fire in the hole. So I just like I clapped it, dude, and it went off. And that shit was sick, dude, for real. It definitely was like a big rocking boom. And I mean, the chart, since I was right there, I mean, I was like, I was looking up at it essentially, dude. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like,
That's awesome.
it was just like, whew. I mean, I was right there. I mean, it was really cool. I mean, when you go to Afghanistan, all those things from school kind of get like overshadowed because the things you do in Afghanistan are so big and so powerful and they're so impactful to what you're doing for the mission, right? So the things you do in school kind of get overpowered, but it's nice to like remember those times, man. You know what I mean? Those like little times where like you got to blow up like 30 pounds of C4, like in a circle, like
Isn't it
because you
funny? Isn't it funny? Like, I'm sure after you've been doing it for years, it's like, whatever. It's like, whatever. Another demo day, whatever. Like, not a big deal. Like, it loses its pizzazz a little bit. When like
towards the end it was, but
your average person is probably looking at it like, holy crap, like this would be the coolest thing ever, and it becomes like a regular job for you, you know?
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It definitely was. Like people were like, well, how was the Marine Corps? Like, did you guys get yelled at like every day for 4 years? It's like, nah, man. Like it was a normal job. Like, I woke up every day. I went and PT'd in the morning. I had a 2 hour lunch, and I got off at 4 o'clock every day. But what'd you do for work? Well, we kicked classes on like the newest IEDs that were coming out of Afghanistan at the time, and we tried to adapt and make our own out of like plastic jugs, and we'd go and hide them out on tank trails, and we'd go like try to like have our own fake IED trails and try to run lanes and stuff. And they're like, that's what you do for work? Like, yeah, dude. And then we go to lunch, and then what would you do afterwards? Well, maybe have like a stand down or a brief or something like at like 3:30 or something from like the battalion commander. But like if it was a lucky day for us, and it sucked. But like most days, like the gunny would just be like, yo, you guys are good to go for the day, and be here tomorrow, and blah blah blah. And it's like, all right. And we, and that was it. And a lot of our regulations and a lot of things were like really relaxed, and a lot of the things around our battalion were really lax because a lot of guys got killed in Afghanistan. A lot of guys from our unit specifically got killed
Mm-hmm.
and got wounded in Afghanistan because of the IED threat and the how powerful that they really were, right? So our unit was very like when I was there, dude, it was like very very like I'm gonna say chill, but it was very fucking chill, dude. Like we didn't have any. I had one uniform inspection the entire time I was in the Marine Corps, and it was excluding obviously boot camp and training, but like once you get to the fleet, they're expected pretty often, from my understanding. But from my experience, I had one uniform inspection. It was like the last like 2 months I was in the Marine Corps, and it was like, all right, boys, we're getting back to garrison now. We're pulling out of Afghanistan in the next like couple of years, so we got to like get back to normal or whatever it is. So it was like, and that was like March 2012. So like I went from 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, at the beginning of 2012 with no uniform inspection, nobody like being down our throat. And it was finally right when I was leaving that they were like, they did a change of command and everything started to get a little bit fucky around there. But,
I can't
it,
imagine what it's like now, when people aren't deploying, or if they are, they're going on Muse, and
dude,
like
I have no idea.
the experiences are different, or so much different. I was talking to my buddy the other day, my buddy Michael Hanthorn, who's been on a few times, and he came in and did a single enlistment and did 2 pumps to Iraq, including Phantom Fury. And I talk about going on like the Mew, because I did 2 Mews as well as my other deployments. And I'm like, yeah, going to Hong Kong was cool, or Singapore was cool. And I was talking to him the other day. I was like, bro, you got really fucked, man. I was like, you didn't get to do any of the cool stuff. Like, you just really trained to go to Iraq and come back, and then go back and then come back, and then you got out. Like, that
Yeah,
was it. It was 29 Palms, Camp Lejeune, and Iraq. That's all he did.
that's
And I
all I
was,
did, man. That's it. I mean, I didn't go to Iraq, but I went to Afghanistan. Like that was my thing. Is I went to Paris Island, and I went to Camp Lejeune for my schooling, and I went to Camp Lejeune for my unit,
mm,
and then I was stationed there, and then I went to like Roxborough one time for some training in North Carolina, but then I went to California for some training. I went to Afghanistan, and then I came back. I trained for the next like 10 or 12 months. Went to California for like 2 months, and then came back for a month, and went to Afghanistan for 7 months, and then came back and I tried out for MARSOC's assessment selection and blew out my shoulder
Oh, bummer,
while I
dude.
was there, and then that like sucked ass. So then I just like I dropped out of that, and then I came back to my unit and like, but I mean, dude, I guess I'll get into it like I guess like later on, but that I feel like that was I failed myself. But anyway, um,
Well, before we start talking about your
but yeah,
fleet time,
yeah,
I want to ask real quick. Can you kind of go, since you're like really the first kind of, Benbow went to engineering school, I think in the or mid 90s, late 90s, I think, something like that. Sorry if I'm dating you wrong if he's listening to this. So you're more modern. Can you kind of talk about, and a little bit more in depth, like what was the construction work like? Did you feel like when you got done, you could actually go build shit? So when I first came in the
yeah.
Marine Corps, I was a mechanic. And I remember like my first day of MOS school, they're like, this is a screwdriver. And they held a screwdriver up. And then they're like, this is a cross tip screwdriver. And you saw people like, oh, like taking notes and shit. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like that basic. Was it the same way for like the construction side of it? And do you feel like you
It
actually
kind
learned
of
something out of it?
it kind of was. I mean, we had to actually go lay down like foundation and go lay down like cinder blocks with like concrete, and we had to go build like a certain like little area of somewhere, right? We had to go build some little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we laid concrete, we built some stuff. But I mean, from my recollection, man, like the construction stuff was kind of like super fucking easy, dude. It was very like, yeah, like you're saying, it was like this is a hammer, but it wasn't like it wasn't really, they didn't talk to us like that. Like they were very like, there was very sped up process because we
Mm-hmm.
had to go build shit. We had to go like, we didn't have a lot of time because it was a 2 month long school. So you got to think, you got to do logging, bridging, demolition, mine sweeping, and you got to do construction all within 2 months. So like for us, it was like definitely sped up a little bit.
For
So in the
sure.
construction, like it was like maybe a week and maybe like a week long thing, and then we had a test, like one big test at the end,
Mm.
where it was like we got a somebody visually watching us like do things, like build things and stuff, and then visually like then we had to go take like an actual written test, and then we actually learned how to do the um, the jackhammer too.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
cool.
that was pretty cool. Like we got to do some stuff like that. Like yeah, that was cool. But I think that if you were a combat engineer and you served and you didn't get to do like metal detection or anything like that, you could use the transferable skills that come with the construction, that come with even with the demolition type stuff, and you can use all that
Yeah.
stuff in the real world, right? Like I truly believe that, and I think that they didn't just put us through a school that was like, all right, well, we're just going to teach them the bare minimum for what they need in the fleet, right? Like, because when I got to the fleet, I was already like, I felt like I was already surpassed. I was already surpassing people that have already been in the fleet for longer than I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I felt when I already got there, I was like, well, damn, dude, this guy doesn't know how to operate, a metal detector like I do, and they don't know, there's like certain types of knowledge bits that I knew just from right out of school that I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty fucking on point with this and that, blah blah blah. And it's like I feel like if we were to get out on those skills and get out of into the real world, they would be transferable for sure. And I feel like they do give you real deal skills that help in life, right? That real like job wise skills
Did you
for
get any kind of
yourself.
certifications or licensing or anything like that? Because I know there are demo licenses in the real world.
Right. No. So I didn't get any type of like demo license. I have certificates from schools like sapper course, the Army sapper course, route reconnaissance courses, um, and like robot courses and blow in place courses, like bipping courses and
Yep.
stuff. But I don't have any like licenses that like an actual like hazmat style
Gotcha.
explosive license, like anything like that. Like that, I've been they probably do that for EOD guys. I'm not an EOD. I never went to EOD school, and I probably should have went that route, but I never did. But that that might happen on their end, but I don't know. I don't want to speak on that, so I don't know.
No, that's cool. So when you got to the fleet, at what point were they like, all right, man, hey, deployments are coming up. It's going to start. You got to get ready for this deployment. Like, how long were you there? How much training did you do in the fleet before that first deployment came up?
So my experience was a little bit different from everybody else's, right? So I got to the fleet, and there was five of us from my class that got to the fleet. And as soon as we got to the fleet, we got there, and nobody went to Afghanistan yet. Nobody was in Afghanistan yet, and I think the week that we got there, they sent some guys over there. They sent like a company, like Charlie Company. I think they sent, and they attached us to some guys that were going into like Nowzad, the end of 2008. Like
Mm-hmm.
going in Nowzad, something like that. But because I remember hearing stories from the guys talking about Nowzad that got back from that whole thing. But as soon as I got to the fleet, man, there was basically like talks of like, all right, we could be going to Afghanistan. I mean, it was more of like when I was in engineer school, they were like, we might be going to Afghanistan. This might be a thing. But then when they sent Charlie Company over to Afghanistan and one of our engineers was killed, he was the first engineer to be killed from the like the OEF conflicts. And his name is Shroud, and he was killed in Afghanistan in 2008, I believe. Um, yeah, and he that was like the first thing for me where I was like, oh damn, because it was like a real. It kind of like because I saw him. I remember seeing that guy. Like he was part of like Charlie Company. I remember seeing them
Mm-hmm.
out and about. And I remember seeing him. He was like he was one of those guys that people like kind of like gravitated towards or whatever. He was one of those like leader like effortless leader types, right?
Yeah.
He was just like there and at like the forefront. So I do remember seeing him. And then when they said that he was killed, I was like, damn, dude, like that's fucked because I feel like I just got here, right? But so we started training in this new company as soon as I got there called Mobility Assault Company, and they called it MAC. And it was a new experiment. It was a straight up company, strictly dedicated to route clearance. So platoon number one would be a route clearance team. Platoon number two would be a route clearance team. And platoon number three would be a route clearance team. And by the time I went to as a battalion to Afghanistan in 2009 in October, it was four route clearance teams altogether, I believe. But basically, when I got there, there was like four or five guys in first platoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I arrived to first platoon. There was like nobody there, and so then we started training. We started like PTing every day, training, going over. These our sergeants were guys that were PFCs, lance corporals in Fallujah and Ramadi, so they were like hard dick motherfuckers. These guys they didn't fuck around, right?
Mm-hmm.
These guys were when they saw you saw in their eyes that they were like, I've seen some shit. And if you ask me about it, you talk about it, you make a dumbass comment, I'm gonna let you know real quick, like that you're an idiot. Basically, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like they were just like
They're
they
serious.
were they were fucking there, dude. Right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't fuck around, man. And they came from Iraq, which was Humvees and roadside bombs and 155 shells, which is a whole other world from what I
Crazy
experienced
stuff.
in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
So completely different world. So these guys are really hard motherfuckers, and some of these guys are still into to this day. They're like first sergeants and sergeant majors like now, and they were like my sergeants and shit then. Like my staff sergeants and sergeants, and they're fucking hard asses still to this day. Still in shape, still PT, running 18-minute through mountains
Yeah.
and shit. Just crushing it. But anyway, we got to Mac and there was nobody there. We were PTing hard, blah, blah, and came like December. We were PTing hard for the whole week and then like hard, hard, hard. And then Friday, they're like, all right, we're going to go play Ultimate Frisbee. And I went to go play Ultimate Frisbee on Friday and I fucking shattered my right shoulder
Oh.
playing Ultimate Frisbee, dude. And I was like, listen, I don't really ever like talk to anybody about this stuff, but like, dude, before I broke my shoulder, there was like a month period where I was in the fleet, right? There was a month period where I was like in the fleet and I was like literally trying to do the best I could, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before I like succumbed to like the turd aspect of like the Marine Corps, right? Because like before I broke my shoulder, this is where I was at, right? Like I was what they called like the fire team leader of our little clique and shit, dude. They said, Eggen, you're gonna be the fire team leader of these guys, and you're gonna make sure that everything gets done. Get them checked in properly. And I was supposed to be checking myself in, so like I'm in charge of the guys that I just came from school with, right? The staff sergeants and shit put me in charge of this shit,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, they saw that I was like, obviously like, I guess like above not above, but like in some sort of leadership capabilities role above these people in that sort of way, and that. I don't mean to say I'm above anybody in a way. I keep saying that, but I don't want. I want to say that like they didn't try, I guess, to like, maybe they did. I don't fucking know,
You were
man.
just
But anyway,
motivated, bro. That's
I
all.
was fucking motivated, dude. I was a fucking
Nothing wrong with that.
motivator. I wanted to get shit done, and like I said, bro, I got 100 on my demolition test. I killed it in the mine sweeping. I crushed that shit. And the instructors were like, "Well, hopefully hopefully you're the guy that gets to sweep in front of me or whatever the fuck they said, And I was like, hopefully, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I really, like I said before, I really wanted to get good at metal detection and that kind of shit. Because if I'm gonna go somewhere and do something, I'm gonna fucking be good at it, especially if it has to do with
Yeah.
IEDs, bro.
For
Like, especially
sure.
has to do with that, right? So
Yeah.
I really wanted to be good at it. Like I guess I was a motivator, dude. So for sure I was a motivator. But I broke my shoulder because I was a motivator and I was like going playing hard and shit. And this like staff sergeant really wasn't feeling it, and he like tackled me in midair, dude. And he was like 6'4". He tackled me in midair. I'm only 6 foot, dude. So I'm a little bit smaller than 6 foot. I'm not 6'4", right? So he tackles me midair, right? I land on the ground. I broke my shoulder. I knew it immediately, and I broke my collarbone three times growing up.
God
When I was
damn.
7, yeah, once when I was 7, once when I was 14, and once when I was 16. I broke the same collarbone. So my shoulders are a little bit, not as strong. And again,
For
that all
sure.
comes back into play when I went to try out for MARSOC and A&S, blowing out my shoulder again. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I broke my other shoulder this time for the first time. This one was for the first time playing frisbee. And as soon as I get up, I knew the feeling because I've already broken bones and shit in my body, and I know like that's like that like scorching hot like feeling of like the your nerves just like being wretched. You know what I mean? I
God.
was just like on the inside, right? And
I
not only
do
that,
not know what you mean. I've never broken any bones.
oof, well, dude. I mean, it's not. I'm sitting here talking to you fine, right? So
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
it's not
It's
that
probably
bad,
sucks the
right?
first time, especially.
It sucks for sure, dude. But definitely, I mean, I've broken a lot of bones, man. But anyway, I've just because I'm the type of person I just kind of like take risks and do stupid shit. And
Drink
anyway,
more milk, bro. Damn.
dude, I drink milk all the time, right? Like, it's just nonstop. I think it's just like the angles, right? It's the angles that get them.
Gotcha.
But yeah. But anyway, I broke my shoulder. I stood up. I was like, yo, I broke my shoulder. That's a fact. And every single person out there, even my friends, dude, I shit you not, were like, clean the sand out of your vagina, you fucking pussy. It's all right. There's no bone showing, da 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 da. And mind you, my shoulder, like the bone was sticking up in my skin like this,
Yeah.
like in my shoulder like this. But
Oh,
it wasn't protruding out of my skin. So like, I could honestly touch it and push it down, right? So it was disgusting.
that is
So
gross.
I drove myself to the Naval Hospital on Camp Lejeune and like still in PT gear. I drove myself in my truck. I went to the emergency room and the doctor was like, "Yeah, you definitely tore like every ligament in your shoulder. That little bone that's underneath there went from underneath, and now it's sitting on top. And in the process of it going from underneath to the top, it tore all the ligaments in the process, like in
Oh,
doing that." And I was like, "Oh my god." He's like, "So you can either like wait it out and see if it heals, or you can like get surgery." And I was like, "All right, well, how long is it gonna take the surgery?" And they're like, "I don't know, maybe like 6 months wait." And I was like, "Jesus fucking Christ, dude,
6 months wait for shoulders. You're just gonna walk around with a jacked up shoulder for
bro,
6 months.
yeah, dude."
Not be able to do any work. Not be able to do any. That's such man.
Mind you, this was in December, right? That was like December 17th, I think it was. December 17th, I think I broke my shit. And I got to the fleet on November 17th. So it was like a nice little romantic thing there. Like the exact month later on the day, I shattered my shoulder, right? So now I have to like wear a fucking brace. Everybody basically is like, ridiculing me for being a guy that broke my shoulder while playing frisbee, right?
You go work in the S3.
Yeah, so now I'm like a turd bucket, dude. So now I'm like, ah, fuck. So now it's like February or like March of like 2009, and Obama is now the president of the United States, and he says we're sending 30,000 troops to Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing an influx, and that's when I was like, all right, now we're going to Afghanistan. Well, fuck me, I just broke my shoulder. I'm not going anywhere, right? So I was like kind of upset about it, but what am I going to do? So I made a huge mistake by hanging out with some shady people one night. We did some bad things, and some prank phone calls were made, and some things happened where the state park in an eastern seaboard state, I won't say which one, but a state park was fully evacuated because of my prank phone call.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it was very bad, dude. Very, very, very bad. And basically, they did like the star 69, I guess, and the person who dialed the number, and from I didn't know this, but they were calling their wife's like ex-boyfriend, I guess. I don't know, dude. I don't know, but anyway, it was the state park. It was like a state park ranger, dude, and he basically like they like filed charges against me and shit, all within the span of like 24 hours. And I basically woke up on Monday or like Saturday morning, and these people were calling my phone, being like, "If you give us an apology, we'll drop all the charges." And I was like, "All right, well, I don't really know what charges there are. I mean, it's a prank phone call. I was drunk. Like, what could I have even said, right? Like we evacuated the park. You said something about a bomb threat." And I was like, "Well, I'll tell you one thing right now. I definitely didn't say anything about a fucking bomb threat. That's a fucking fact. I didn't say no. I didn't say one thing about it. I didn't say nothing about a bomb, not even once." And I had people there to testify, like, I didn't, because I had like a few friends there, out of like these other shady people that were there. But anyway, I definitely didn't say anything about a bomb.
Did you threaten a state park with a bomb?
No, no, definitely not. I definitely said that I was in. I told him that I was gonna be in his bushes. I did say that. I did say I was gonna be in the guy's bushes, but that's like about the extent of what I said. Um, but they filed charges against me, and they filed like felony charges for a bomb threat, and I was like facing like 15 years in jail. And I was like, "Bro, I didn't say nothing like this, dude. I'm getting a fucking lawyer, like blah blah blah." And I come wake up Monday morning, and the apology, I guess, wasn't good enough. So they actually did file the charges, and now there's like a warrant out for my arrest, I guess, or something, dude. So like my battalion commander, basically, I mean, my battalion sergeant major calls me into his office, and he's like, "Yo," he's like, he looks at me and he goes, "Why the fuck do I have this civilian calling me, ridiculing me, and pissing me off about my Marine prank, about some fucking prank phone call?" I was like, "Honestly, Sergeant Major, I don't, this guy called, we got drunk, and I was 19 at the time, and I was like, yo, we got drunk, and we were drinking. We made some prank phone calls. And I said nothing about a bomb threat. That's a verified fact. I said nothing of the sort. Even if they had it recorded, you'll find them in the recording. Like, I said nothing of the sort." And blah blah blah. Basically, push come to shove, the sergeant major was basically pissed off that like this guy was calling him about me, and he wasn't really mad at me. And he basically said, like, go handle it, or I'm gonna put you in the brig and we'll handle it. And I said, all right, well, so he put me on PTAD, like, I don't know if you know, I don't really know
I know what
what
PTAD is, but you can explain it for the people that don't.
I don't really know what it is.
Oh, it's
So he told me he was putting me on PTAD leave.
which is it stands for permissive temporary assigned duties, which means like when you're temporarily going to do, like if you get assigned to go work at the base gym for a month, that's PTAD.
Right. So he put me on PTAD, dude, to go to jail.
That
Okay.
sucks.
So I went up there, and he put me on PTAD so it wouldn't like affect my, I don't know what it was, but basically I went up there, and I turned myself in, and the cops, and I turned myself in, I'm a Marine. They're like, "You're doing what?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess, this." And then while I was in jail, this guy came and ridiculed me and harassed me while I was in jail.
So you
Okay.
got put in actual jail and everything, huh? Like they
I
see.
went I went to the county where the state park was at, and I turned myself in, and I told them what happened, and they said, "Okay, blah blah blah, we see that your name is here, blah blah blah, whatever whatever it was." And when I was in there but before I bailed myself out that night, because I stayed there for a little bit, this guy came and harassed me while I was in jail. I had to stay there for a little bit because I had to wait for somebody to come bail me out. But
Yeah,
he harassed me while I was in
the
jail. And
park ranger did.
yes, this was a key thing in the actual court case like 2 months later.
Hmm.
This guy harassed me while I was in fucking jail, like legitimately just came in there and was like, "How does it feel to be behind glass, you piece of shit?"
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah,
Jeez.
dude, it was really bad,
So he
dude. And I
fucked
had it,
himself. Yeah.
dude, they had it all on camera, like because it's at a fucking jail, right? So like they had it
What
all
a
on camera,
moron.
like he's an idiot, but he's an idiot for trying to do this to me in the first place. But anyway, I got this really badass lawyer. This lawyer basically, and at the end of the day, they dropped the felony charge. They dropped one of the misdemeanors, and I had to go serve in jail one of the misdemeanors. But he basically got it to where it was expunged from my record, like forever. I guess you know what I'm saying, like afterwards. So it's not like you can't really like even look this shit up. Like it's kind
But the
of
Marine Corps never took any kind of action on this. They let you go handle it.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So this is
crazy.
no, no. So it was great. So this is what I'm saying. Like we were in a time of like it was a different time, dude.
They
Right? So
needed
like
you.
it was a different time, bro. So like basically my when I came back, they NJP'd me with my other friends that were there that night drinking. They all gave us underage drinking NJPs and they put us 14 for 14, which they gave us 14 days EDP or whatever it was
Yeah, extra
extra.
duties.
Yeah, they gave us a extra duty and they put us on restriction for 14 days. So that's all
It's
they did.
people. I mean, so the guys that are in now can't really fathom it. But when I came in, I got to the fleet in 2007, February of '07, and I think about 6 months later, we had this kid, kind of like you, describe how you describe yourself, showed up, super motivated. He's like this PFC, freaking screaming high and tight, like rah rah. He didn't come in with his sleeves all tight, like all this shit. And this kid got, I don't know if I've told this story or not, but it's a really good one. So I'm going to tell it. So this kid got busted doing coke, right? He popped on a piss test for coke, which
Yes.
how are you going to get busted for coke, man? I think most of the guys that do it,
Everybody
I've
said,
never done it personally, but I know people have, and they're like, you do it on Friday and you're good by Monday. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. So this kid popped on a piss test for it and got a company level NJP, and they weren't even going to kick him out. They're like, all right, look, dude, you're going to get 30 days of restriction, 30 days
yeah,
of whatever, half month's pay for like 2 months or whatever, but we're not going to kick you out. And he's
yeah.
like, all like, woo, like, yeah, I'm not getting kicked out. But at the time at Camp Lejeune, where I was at maintenance battalion. This is when I was a mechanic still.
Well, you and I were there at the same time then.
Yeah, down at Had Not Point or whatever, HP whatever barracks. He inside the duty hut for the OOD, there was an actual restriction room. So that's where it was like almost like a mini squad bay with like 6 bunk beds in it, where the restriction Marines had to stay.
Oh wow.
And apparently, while he was on restriction, this kid started fucking around with some female Marine who was also on restriction but was married. So he got in trouble for that. So then they're like, all right, well, now we're really going to hammer you. Now you are getting kicked out. And so they start processing this dude's paperwork. And one day he comes in, obviously he still comes to work and stuff like that. One day he comes in and he's like, hey, man, dude, I got like a lump in my nuts. And we're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And he's talking about how he's a lump in his nutsack. And we're like, dude, you need to go to medical. Like, that could be, not good. Goes to medical. They're like, hey, we think you might have cancer. Like, we're going to have to biopsy. So, we're going to have to cut your nut off, basically. And that's what they did, man. They chopped this dude's nut off. And we would give him shit about it. He was talking about, he's like, yeah, when I beat off, it's a lot more clear now. I'm like, all right, dude. But anyway, so they chopped this dude's nut off, find out it's not cancer. It's just some random lump. So they cut his nut off for no reason. And like the day or two after that, when they found out like, hey, it's not cancer, here's your 10-day letter. Here's your 10-day letter. And I was like, dude, this dude got caught doing coke and they took his nut right before they kicked him out. I was like, that's how they really got him. But yeah, but the fact that he originally was only going to get a company level NJP for popping on a test test for cocaine tells you that it was a different time. That was when the surge was going on and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we had a guy that was kind of like that. We had 2 or 3 guys that were doing heroin in our barracks.
That's crazy.
And they were just on full like 24/7 watch by the battalion. Because man, I'll tell you what, when they were in Iraq, I guess they there was a handful, a good, I think like 12 or something guys that got killed in Iraq, something like that, like in a span of like 2 years or something when they were over there, or 2 or 3 years and they were over there, the battalion itself, right? So, and a lot of those guys were still like coming back from that, right? Or like they were I remember hearing guys going on patrol, hearing about guys that would go on patrol. Like I would, because I had corporals that were, that were in Iraq that were all like fucked up that were getting out. They were
Mm-hmm.
drinking and they were getting out. And they're all fucked up, and they were getting out when I was right as I got in. So I was like just got NJP'd. So now I'm on like restriction. Now I'm kind of like a turd. So now I'm in like the turd platoon, which is kind of like the platoon where all the guys that are kind of getting out in the next like 4 months kind of
Mm-hmm.
go and like hang out because they've already been on like 2 or 3 combat deployments. They're just like, bro, you're not gonna make me go to the range. You're not gonna make me do this. So the battalion was like, bro, we're just gonna put them in the fucking platoon together, and they can just be like their own thing.
You got to separate them from everybody so they don't rub off on
Yeah,
them.
but yeah, essentially, and basically, like I got to chill with a lot of those guys, man, during that like next period about while I waited for my surgery because I had to wait for my shoulder surgery,
Mm-hmm.
right? But once I got NJP'd, then I was known as the guy that broke his shoulder while playing frisbee, but also the guy that got arrested for a fucking prank phone call, right? It was not even anything else I had to do with it because nobody really knew the details. They just know I got arrested for a prank phone call, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just got ridiculed by a lot of like the second lieutenants and a lot of the first lieutenants and a lot of like the staff sergeant guys and shit. Like you expect you would, right? Like the fucking retard that would do some
The
stupid
new
shit
guy that
again
just constantly something's happening. Yeah.
needs to get ridiculed, right? So I waited for the next like year, man, and I basically just I stopped fucking around like with my not my friends, man, but like the Marine Corps itself. I guess I just kind of like I started surfing a lot, man, and just kind of getting away from like the whole thing. I started like surfing over to Onslow Beach a lot and kind of like just vibing and just smoking, kind of, dude, and just kind of hanging out, right? And just kind of hanging out and just kind of like tapping into like my old ways of like Florida, right? Like my old skimboarding, surfing, like kind of like chill ways of like how I grew up down in South Florida. And I was like, all right, man, this is cool. Like I feel like I can find a nice balance of like Marine Corps life and like, this kind of like I can find a nice chill spot because like up to that point I was like going so hard and I broke my shoulder and then I went to jail and I was like, all right, dude, I need to calm the fuck down. Like I need to stop and just like slow down, like get my surgery. I need to go to Afghanistan. That's what I need to do, right? So I basically that whole year I just waited around the battalion, surfed a lot, man. Didn't really do nothing. Kind of just bullshitted with a lot of my friends from those like older guys, and those guys would tell me stories. Like that's what I was getting at before. Is a lot of those guys would tell me stories like they'd go on patrol in Iraq, and they'd go into like knee deep water and they're like stepping into dudes like like molded old skulls and shit like their old bodies. They're just like stepping in old wet like deformed bodies and
Ugh.
they're like pulling their boot up and the dude's like half his face is like suction cupped to the bottom of his boot and they gotta like scrape it off with the butt of his rifle. And
Oh
he's
my
like, dude,
god.
he's like, you don't want to know the shit that I've fucking seen in Iraq and shit. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And I've never been, I never went to Iraq or Afghanistan up until this point. I was still a young boot. And just hearing these guys' stories really opened my eyes to like the realities of things. It's not all like, oh, we're gonna go be fucking heroes and go jump over the wadi and go shoot the guy in the face and I got a bronze star. Like it's not gonna be like some crazy
Yeah.
fucking movie scene, right? It's gonna be dirty and gritty and disgusting. It's gonna be something that you're gonna want to forget for the rest of your life, but you're not ever gonna be able to forget. So I saw that early on, and I saw that, from I got to have like a take back perspective because I wasn't training every day. I just got to do whatever, essentially what I wanted because I was in that platoon. I just got NGP'd. I had a broken shoulder. I can't do physical shit. I got a broken shoulder. I
Mm-hmm.
can't go on humps. I can't do pull ups. I can go like run or whatever. I guess whatever. But it was my shoulder was fucked up. But anyway, and right when the day that the battalion was leaving to go to Afghanistan as a unit, which was I think in the middle of October 2009. They were going over to Afghanistan as a whole battalion, all 500 of these guys. I was getting surgery. I went under for reconstructive shoulder surgery that same exact day. So I got surgery, and see if I can show you right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big old fat line right there.
Yeah.
So the big old fat line, that's naval hospital scar for you.
Nice.
So I got reconstructive shoulder surgery. They fixed my shit up real nice and tight for me. And I was like determined to like, I need to get fit and get back into like get back. You know what I mean? Like I had a nice like reawakening experience, I guess, for like the last like year from like, getting NJP'd, breaking my shoulder, kind of like falling out of the lulls with like the right path kind of people, you know. So I just was like, all right, I kind of had my year now. And I got really good at skating that year. That year was I got really really good at skating. You know, I got really good at becoming like a professional skate artist, right? Like somebody who could really like fucking get away with shit, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it was kind of scummy of me, but like, you know, I just saw other people doing things and I learned. It was like I took notes of people. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of absorbed all these other
Fucking
bad characters
scumbags.
around. Yeah, dude, I absorbed all that shit around me. So like I kind of knew how to like manipulate a lot of different things at different times whenever I could. But I didn't take advantage of it. I wasn't an asshole, really. You know what I mean? I did what I needed to do. But anyway, once I got my shoulder surgery, I started to heal up and I started to like put myself in like rehab and really do good shit. And I started going to rehab every day, and it was like November, and I was like going to rehab on Camp Lejeune Naval Hospital doing my shit. And then finally, dude, it happened one day where I was like, I think I'm good to go. I put on a ruck and I went and on the tank trails at Camp Lejeune, and I went running with a ruck, dude, for a good like 20, 30 minutes, and I turned around and I walked back, and basically, dude, I was like, I think I'm fucking ready to go. Like I feel good. And I
Mm-hmm.
went and banged out like 15, 16 pull-ups, and I was like, all right, that to me right now is good to go, right? I feel like I'm ready to go. So I was like, all right. So basically, while all that was happening, you know, my unit was still deployed to Afghanistan, and you know, some guys got killed, some guys got wounded from my unit, so they needed a handful of combat replacements. Some like you know they needed like I think it was like 12 or 13 combat replacements to go to these platoons across the battalion that for guys that were wounded or hurt or whatever and that were killed. So I was the first person on the list, bro. I fucking signed my name up on the list. I put my name first on the list so I could, you know, all the guys that were at the battalion that basically were able-bodied dudes were needed to be on this list, right? So I went to my doctor when I found out, like when I heard word through the grapevine that this was happening in the next few days, that they were going to have a list available for people to sign. I made my way to the Naval Hospital, and again, like I said before, I was like, I found my way through like the skating channels and found out how to kind of be like a scumbag. And by that, I found this information that came to me of this list that was going to be happening, right? So I was like, dude, I'm definitely going to get on this fucking list, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
through my scumbag channels, I found out that there was this list, and I told my doctor, hey, you need to sign my permit like now. And luckily he did because he was like going on leave or something. He was some like naval doctor, some like you know major or some shit. He was like going on leave for like 2 months. It was like November near Christmas time or something. It was like near Christmas time, right? It was actually past November. It was like near Christmas time at this point. And basically, I got him. Luckily, I got him to sign my shit, and he signed me to go full duty. And I was like, dude, I'm ready to go. Like that's fucking sick. I basically was not like begging him, bro, but I was like begging him. I was like, bro, if you don't do this, like you're gonna crush my life. Like I was like, you need to
Yeah.
let me go. Like, you need to let me fucking go. I've already been wasting my life for the last year on this fucking surgery, and it may not be like 100% right now, but like, you need to let me go and say that it's 100% because I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta go, dude. He's like, all right. He's like,
I
I can.
I was gonna say I think it's hard for people that don't understand the military or it's hard to see the desire to why would you want to go, you know, especially when you know dudes that you know or dudes from your unit are being killed. It's like why you know you sound excited like I want to volunteer, and I think
Yeah.
that that's probably the standard reaction for a lot of people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I think a lot of guys would take a shitty deployment to Iraq where they didn't get to do anything while they were there or whatever, but they would still do that. They would still do a shitty deployment rather than not deploy because
Yeah.
you know that's a stigma some guys walk around with where they never got to deploy, you know, and it's like it's not their fault. Obviously, for most people,
Yeah.
it's
Of
not their
course.
fault, but it's like you never. It's like being on a sports team and you just practice all the time, but you never get to go play in the game, you know, and everybody wants to play in the game.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing is that you know I felt I felt out of it. I felt like all my friends were passing me by because I got a JP. You know, I was still a PFC. All my friends were picking up Lance Corporal. You know, I was like kind of in a dumps, you know. I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, I need to. I joined the Marine Corps to, you know, and again, why? And I go back to seventh grade, you know, 9/11. We can all say that that was like our big motivation, right? Just like you know Pearl Harbor, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
the Gulf of Tonkin, I guess you could say, and whatnot. But basically, like I I knew that I was going to go to the military at some point in my life. And I knew that if 9/11, if the problems that happened from 9/11 were still occurring while I was able-bodied, old enough, young enough to go and to do the military, I was going to go do that. And I was going to give it my best to go and fucking stack fucking bodies, dude. You know what I mean? For like a better life, for like a lack of better words, bro. Like go stack fucking bodies, you know? Like go over there
Mm-hmm.
and go get my quote unquote, like, or I don't know, like revenge, dude. My go and get my piece of like what they took from us. You know what I mean? I guess. And that may not like equate, now as I'm 32 years old, but when I was 12, 13 years old, it made sense.
Well,
It made
everybody in the
sense.
country was destroyed when that happened.
Right.
You
It,
know.
it made it made sense to me when I was 12, 13, and those same motivations and same things still pushed me to the Marine Corps at the age of 19, and that's why I left to go to the Marine Corps because I knew that my grandpa told me when I was a little kid, he goes, I go, what about Marines? He goes, oh, Marines are crazy. They eat snakes. And I was like, that's like the one thing that I remember my grandpa ever saying about the Marine Corps was that they eat fucking snakes. And I was like, damn, that's hard as shit, right? Like that's pretty cool. So, I was in the Marine Corps. My whole goal was like, I'm gonna go to I want to go to Afghanistan. So finally, I got like the ticket, bro. I got my doctor to say, hey, you're 100%, you're good to go. So I brought that back to my battalion. They put me on full duty. Now I'm in the combat replacement platoon. There's 13 of us, and it's crazy to look back at that photo of the 13 of us when we first got to Camp Leatherneck, and you look at it, and one guy, like a year later, was a triple amputee. You another guy, when we got back from that deployment, he died in a car accident. And one guy in the picture was one of my really good friends, and him and I don't even speak to each other anymore for some unknown reason. I don't even know why. He just stopped talking to me for some reason. Um, and then another person in the picture, they got in a motorcycle accident when they got in the Marine Corps, and they became paralyzed from like the chest down, and they ultimately ended up committing suicide. So when you look at that photo now, a lot has changed. A lot is different. And you look at it, and you're like, wow, dude, look at the 13 of us, and look at where, another guy in the picture has, I'm not gonna, he just has like, very bad, like substance abuse issues, bro, right? So like, you look at these, these little moments that you take where you're like, oh, we're all going over here to rah rah rah, do these things. We're going over here to Afghanistan, and then you take this one photo, and I remember taking that photo. I remember sitting there with those guys, a few of those guys are still doing well. A handful of those, two or three of the four of those guys are still doing really well in their life, and they're
Mm-hmm.
still attacking shit and they're still doing it. And one or two of them still in the Marine Corps, maybe, But the thing is, man, is like you don't know in life like those bad things are ever going to happen to any of those people, right? So like I've always known that from growing up. Like my best friend from high school died right out of high school. He got in a car. He got killed by a drunk driver on the interstate, and he was killed. And my grandma died. My second mother, she died, 2 months before he died, and on Halloween. So it was like, I had this really understanding of like, all right, dude, there's this, you have to be like nice to people. You have to be like, not just nice for it to be nice to, but you be a good person, right? Like while you're here, because like, dude, you can look back on an image and be like, damn, man, that day I remember I was such a dick to that guy. Why was I like that, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to live with that, like, you don't want to live with that shit, right? You don't want to live with that, like, oh man, why was I like that kind of shit? So like, don't be like that now,
Don't
right?
let the
So
petty shit drive you. Yeah.
yeah, so when the time does come later on in life, like you're not looking back going, man, I was a fucking idiot. Yeah, you were. You should have been like that. So like, be a better person now and be a better version of yourself now. And I've always tried to live like that for a very long time. And obviously, we have our flaws, we have our mistakes, but yeah, man, I'll get back to the Afghanistan. But we all 13 of us, we got to Afghanistan and we were like, oh, it's really cool. All of us are here. I was really psyched, and I got placed in second route clearance platoon, so route clearance platoon two, and the invasion of Marjah was going on as we like arrived. Basically, like it was like a week of they were like a week and a half into the invasion when my Osprey landed on the like the little fob that was outside of Marjah's in the desert because we didn't. They weren't like established yet inside the city. Like I said, they a week and a half into the invasion, so that thing was like truly established. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, we got to Marjah, and I went there with another guy named Miller, and it was me. It was two guys. Two of us went to second platoon. I think two of them went to third platoon. I think two of them went to like an infantry platoon. Two of them went to three or four of them went to another infantry platoon. Like we all just got spread across a battalion to like,
Yeah.
whatever, maybe like whatever it was. So all 13 of us got spread across. So only me and another guy went to this platoon. I wasn't really close to him at all. He got nailed by a fucking IED like 2 weeks into it, and he just like after that he was completely like just like dazed. I don't even know who the fuck. I don't think
Like
he.
on foot or in a
No,
vehicle?
and like in a truck. Like he was driving the truck, and his truck got hit by an IED. And after that, he was just fully dazed. And I was like, I don't. I never really knew him that well to begin with, And after that, I didn't really get to know him after that either,
That
Like,
sucks. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he was like, like a nice person, Like I said, he was like a nice person over. But yeah, we got to Rock Clearance Platoon too, man. And I'll tell you one thing right now, dude. We found a lot of IEDs, and a lot of IEDs went off while I was there. And I was there from what February. I mean, we got to Afghanistan in January, but we didn't get to our platoons until February. So it was in February, March, April, and then May is when we came back. Is what I
Mm-hmm.
believe. We came back in May. So basically, I was there for my first deployment for like 5 months or four out of the 7 months that they're supposed to be there. I was with my unit, right? So or with my platoon. And when I got there, I was obviously like, oh, aren't you the guy that made that prank phone call? Blah blah blah, like da da da.
God
And
damn it.
right, exactly. But I did have one of my good friends from all, of course there were people who knew me to be a good Marine, right? Like there
Mm-hmm.
were guys that saw me for who I was, and not just like the shithead. So like one of my good friends was a sergeant, and he was like a very influential sergeant in our battalion. He was really good friends of mine before I went over there, and when he found out that I was coming over there as a combat replacement, he said, "Hey, take Eggen. If you can take anybody out of that group, take Eggen, and I want him to be in my truck."
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they moved their gunner into the 7-ton vehicle, and they put me as their 50 cal gunner, and it was me, him, our buddy Gary that lives in Idaho now, and our buddy Jaron who lives in Jacksonville. But we had a cool little truck, man, and we had a 4x MRAP, and I experienced, I think, the I didn't understand it at the time, but at the time it was the upside of like war, I guess, like the what you see on the upside, right? Like there was not a lot of carnage. There was not a lot of blood. There was not a lot of like nastiness, right? There was not a lot of gruesome sights. There was a lot of IEDs. There was a lot of explosions. A lot of trucks getting blown up. Some people at nighttime, a lot of gunfire at night and shit like that, dude. But it was never like, and a lot of like fun times, right? But on my first deployment, it was really more relaxed for me, at least, right? From my perspective, like I got to the platoon, man, and we were just like, it was very like we were out in the fucking field. We are out there, like in the front line. So like nobody was there like checking up on us for anything. Like it was like,
Yeah.
bro, we ran out of water. With like the Afghani National Army dudes were making us rice and shit. Like they were making us foot bread.
So good.
Yeah, so good, dude. And they were making us foot bread, the rice, and like, dude, it was awesome. Like we ran out of water at some point. Like so, it was like, we were really out there, man. I had like a unique experience that was very like it was very, very, very cool for me, dude. Like I got to earn like my stripes in a certain way that like I got to go on patrols and trucks and go look for IEDs, and there were IEDs, you know what I mean? But it just wasn't like these crazy gunfights and gun battles. Like there was just a
Mm-hmm.
fuck ton of IEDs, dude. We just found a fuck ton of IEDs, a ton of bombs, so we just found them all, and that was like it. And of course, there were like times and shit where like bad things did happen, but it wasn't like our platoon, our second platoon did really, really well about like, dudes not getting killed or shit like that, right? I mean, obviously there was a reason that they needed a replacement because a guy lost his leg in the early in a deployment. And when I tell people, "Oh, I was a combat replacement for a guy who lost his leg," everybody's like, "Well, why would you fucking volunteer for that?" Like you said earlier,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's that
Got to get
part
off
of
the bench.
you got to go. Hey, when your time is called, when you called off the bench, it's time to go. So I got this platoon, and basically I did well my first deployment. You know, everything was good to go. We got home, and I was like, oh man, that was great. You know, I earned the respect of my peers.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, yo, this guy's cool, blah blah blah. He's it. You know, I got to learn how to take apart a 50 cal like a boss. You know, I was cleaning it. I was, you know, manipulating it. I was operating it. I loved my 50 cal like it was a shit, man. I love that thing. And at the end of the day, I had a really like a growing experience in my first deployment, and I really had a good time.
Well,
And then
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
and then basically we came back that summer of 2010, and my cousin was also in the Marine Corps. He was stationed in North Carolina. He was motor T operator. He had a house in Topsail, North Carolina. So we were like, when I got back from Afghanistan that summer, I'd go to his house, bro, and we were surfing, drinking beer like all summer long. Because I mean, right when we got back from Afghanistan, our battalion had, I think, like 400 and something dudes pop for marijuana.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Yeah, and our battalion, like right as we got back, and our battalion commander basically like swept it under the rug because, like, you know, we just did so much good work, like in the invasion of Marjah and Garmshire, and you know, we had a lot of guys get killed and all this other stuff. So he wasn't like looking for a black spot on our name, on his name, on the battalion's name. So he just
Yeah.
basically let it go any further than him.
That's crazy.
He basically kept it up to him, and he was like, "That's it." You know what I mean? And that, like, I shit you not, bro. Like, there was like 400 and something guys that popped for marijuana.
That's
Like,
insane. Were you guys like were they smoking before they came back?
oh, like right as like it was basically when we got back from leave. It was like
Oh yeah.
when
Okay.
everybody got back from post deployment leave,
Got a bunch
everybody
of people.
popped for marijuana, and like and other people popped for other drugs as well. But
Yeah. Wait,
he
let's
basically swept it under the rug. Yeah.
that's insane. I've never we had a guy, a corpsman, get caught smoking weed in Marjah when I was out there with 3-6 in 2011. He
Different time.
yeah, well, I mean they told him I think after he got caught, I think he thought he was going to get to come back. And the sergeant major's like, negative, bro. Like, you're finishing the deployment. And then when we land, PMO is going to be waiting for you at the airplane
Oh,
to
no
detain
way.
you. I was like, holy shit. So, yeah, they made him finish the deployment. And I'm almost certain that he didn't lie, that when he landed back at Cherry Point, that he got detained. And,
Wow.
yeah, so I don't think he lied about that. But I do know that we
Wow.
all had to take a piss test in Afghanistan because of
Wow.
that. But,
We never took any piss tests in Afghanistan. I know my cousin, when he was in Afghanistan from December to July, just December 2010 to July 2011, when he was in Marjah there, and those months, he took a piss test, I think, like 2 or 3 times. I
yeah.
knew that every single time that when we would go out, so listen, when you're route clearance, right? So when you do route clearance, especially when we did it, we were doing like, I guess, like hybrid operating. Like we were kind of like a new company that was a new fresh thing, right? Like we didn't really know what we were. So when we did go out, we kind of like did whatever we wanted to do, right? Like we had a essentially a full on arsenal with us. We had fucking laws, we had AT4s, we had enough C4 to bring down a building. We had enough dynamite and TNT to do whatever we wanted with. We had enough grenades. We could fucking, we were a rolling fucking base, dude. You know what I mean? That's essentially what we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, when you're rolling out 10 trucks like that, you got a few gun trucks, you got a wrecker, you got a 7 ton, and you got a Buffalo, and you got a couple of Huskies. So when you're doing that route clearance, you know, like I said, you got the gun trucks are essentially little armories. And when you're at nighttime, we never went to like a, you know, well, we would go to some bases sometimes, but a lot of times at night when we were out in the middle of the desert on my second deployment, we would circle up in a 360. And bro, we were just essentially a small base at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
we could basically have a nice little like fire in the middle and like chill and talk. And we could have people up on the guns at night. We could have a watch. We could have a watch at night. You know, it was just like nobody fucked with us, bro. And if they did, you're getting rockets up the ass, and you're getting a 50 cal Mark 19 right on your paws, bro. And if that doesn't get you out of there, I promise you, dude, that we will get you out of there at some point. You know what I mean? Like we'll call it an airstrike or something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we had the abilities. Like it was like, I don't know, route clearance was cool because of that. Like we were autonomous essentially. We could live off the land and do our own thing essentially. We could go base to base to base and be like, oh, we're route clearance. We're just, you know, we're whatever. We're
What road do you
doing.
want cleared? Yeah.
We need fuel. We're coming to your base. Oh, okay. Once we
Mm.
leave your base, we're gonna go up here because this route needs to be cleared for these guys. And basically, the missions would come from all over
Yep.
Helmand province, and they would get tasked out for routes that need to be cleared. And we would do. over my second deployment, and that's, I mean, I'll get there, but my second deployment was cool, man. Really cool for that reason. But my cousin, he, I was saying, with him, oh, he had to take a piss test. That's what it was. We had to take a piss test a few times when he was over there. We never took on none of my deployments. But we did take one right when we got back. And like I said, a lot of, like, most people popped on that. And he just swept under the rug. It was no big deal. And then we started to work up for our second deployment. And that's when it started to get a little bit more serious, right? So that's when, like, October, November came of 2010. And that was when it was really bad in Sangin. That's when Lieutenant Robert Kelly was killed. Sangin 3-5. That's when
Yep.
all those guys were out there. They were out there getting hammered out in Sangin, and basically we were going to go replace the rat clearance platoons that were attached to these guys, right? So we were getting like feedback when we went to California. We went to California in January and February 2011, and we went out there. We were getting a lot of information back from Afghanistan that was coming back over the wire.
Yeah.
And we were learning a lot about pressure plates, a lot about their tactics, a lot about how they would draw people in, then boom some more. They were learning a lot. So they were really putting the fire like under our ass about, this is going to be fucking serious. This isn't going to be, Marjah was bad. I wasn't there for when it was bad at Marjah. I mean, my platoon, it took them a long time to go 1,000 meters, right? Because there were so many IEDs. Like that's when it's like really bad. Then you get ambushed with RPGs, and then you're fucking kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that kind of shit. I came literally like a week after all that bad shit happened. And after I came, it was very just like calm, and all we found was IEDs and like a few triggermen, right? And a few like guys with cell phones, and a few Taliban men. No big deal. But my second deployment was a lot different. My second deployment, we get there in California, like, all right, well, this is what it's like. And they're telling us what it's like. They're basically saying it's not fucking good. It's really fucking bad. It's a lot worse than what it was before. It's really, really bad. And we're like, all right, that doesn't sound good. We were seeing like after action reports that they were sending through BFTs and this and that. And we were seeing, stuff that, that they could show us on secured computers and stuff. But we trained in California, and that was all gravy. And right when he came back from California, I picked up corporal, and so I was like a fire team leader again, but as a corporal. But then as soon as we landed in Afghanistan, my lieutenant, we actually, so this is the thing, we had a lieutenant that was our lieutenant that we got as soon as we got back from our first deployment. We got a brand new lieutenant, okay. And he was a lieutenant from like June 2010 all the way until like March 2011. All right. And this guy was, if he ever watches this, I'm really sorry I got to say this, but the guy was kind of a fucking piece of shit, right? Like he was really.
It happens.
So he told us one time, he goes, I don't care how many men it takes, I'll sacrifice everybody to get the mission done.
That's fucked up.
And we were like, bro, not on our watch, my friend. We'll fucking throw you to the wolves, bro. Like,
you're like, someone will get sacrificed, that's for sure.
Yeah, somebody's gonna sacrifice. It ain't gonna be us, motherfucker. It's definitely gonna be you.
I can't believe he would say some shit like that to you guys.
Oh, he said it to us in like in a safety brief, like a motivational speech sort of way. And we're all, as soon as he said it, everybody in the platoon was like,
don't worry, you're all expendable. It's cool. Like, what?
Like, for real. And then, some shit happened, and maybe if I do say all this, people will know who he is. But anyway, some bad shit happened to him medically, and he wasn't like permitted to like essentially deploy. Like medically, some shit happened to him. I don't know what happened. I mean, I know what happened, but I'm not going to say it because it's like a disease. I'm not going to say like, oh, he did, but he got a disease basically, and he wasn't able to like deploy. So like our luck kind of like it came, that like how like fate kind of has it, right? Like it wasn't meant for you to have this guy lead you in combat, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were meant to have this other guy, and this other guy just got out of engineer school, and this guy was like, he was like 6'5", 250 fucking pounds, blue hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, big motherfucker. He looked like Dolph Lundgren, dude, right? Just big as fuck, and he was very, very, very smart, bro. Like He came from the financial sector of Wall Street, right? And he was like, I want to go to the military and go lead Marines in combat. That was like his thing. He was already making money in Wall Street, bro. He
Mm-hmm.
was just like, he was like a financial advisor or something like that. And he played for Purdue. He played college football for Purdue. Like
Oh, what's his name?
John Brooks.
I don't know.
He
I'm from
played
Lafayette, Indiana. I used to watch Purdue. That was
he
like
was
my
a
hometown team.
he was a defensive end for Purdue. I believe he was a defensive end for Purdue, but I know it was Purdue, but I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
was a defensive. But anyway, he was a big guy, and he came to our unit or came to our platoon. And he was our our battalion, our company commander was this big guy, a big guy. His name was Captain Goodwin, and he was like a superhero looking guy. He was like 6'4". His chest, his body looked like something out of like Men's Health, bro. You know what I mean? Like he just every single time you saw him, he was like lifting weights. He was always
Mm-hmm.
motivated. He was always in like high spirits. You know, he was very fucking smart, but he was always jacked. You know what I mean? They called him Captain Chest because he was just like fucking stupid big. But him and my lieutenant, they got along really well from like the jump, just because they're both like big dudes. You know what I mean? Like big strongman guys. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they got along like really fucking. They got along really well from the jump. So I think that that played a really big part in our company passing down. We had one. So remember, I said on my first deployment we had 4 route clearance platoons. On my second deployment, they got a bunch of tankers from the tank battalion, and we made them our gunners and our drivers,
Mm.
so we could have 8 route clearance platoons. So the engineers could do route clearance shit, and the tankers could do driving, gunning
Yeah.
shit, like how tankers would do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you logically think about it, right? So like the engineers did engineer shit. Like so when we got to our unit, I mean, we got to our when they transfer all the tankers over, you know, we split up all of our guys. So my platoon basically got cut in half, and all my some of my friends went to a different company essentially, right? Like the Mac Part Two or whatever the fucking they called this shit. It was like 4 route clearance, but so when they went on our second deployment, the 4 other route clearance platoons went down to Marjah, and our 4 route clearance platoons went up to like Musa Kayla and Sangin, and that's where we like operated out for my second deployment, and like at some like once to now's at. But basically, when we got on our second deployment, we got this guy named John Brooks, dude, and when he came to our platoon, he told us from the get, he goes, "Listen, a lot of you guys, this is your second, maybe third, maybe even fourth deployment. So a lot of you guys know what you guys are talking about, and a lot of you guys know what you guys are doing because you guys have been here before."
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have obviously come back, you know, and you guys know. So you guys have some sort of wherewithal of an understanding of what we're going into. I have never been over there. I've never been to Afghanistan, he would tell us. And he said, we're like, wow, this guy's pretty fucking, he's getting somewhere, right? He's like being a little bit vulnerable right now. He's telling us, he's like, listen, I'm not going to be up your guys' ass while we're there. And I'm not going to be trying to control something that I have no clue what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let Gunnery, he's like, I'm going to let Gunny here handle the situation, handle everything from day to day, essentially, until I get the grasp on things. And then I'm going to slowly make myself, assert myself and take control of like the situation, which he did, like 2 or 3 months in, but not really. I mean, he just kind of always stayed back and did his thing. He
Well,
just
that's
got
good
better.
though.
He was the best lieutenant I've ever had in my entire life, bro. He was the best officer I've ever had, ever. Because basically on my second deployment, he told me, bro, he's like, he came up to me one time and I was sleeping in my hammock, bro, and he's like, you're doing a great job. He's like, keep it up. He's like, when you got good feelings, he's like, go with them, stick to them. He's like, don't fuck around. He's like, I don't want to see you make a mistake. He's like, blah blah. Something along the lines of like, bro, like, he just had like mutual admiration and respect for like his Marines, right? He was
That's
really,
awesome.
really, he was a really cool guy. And we went on our second deployment, our first fucking mission, and we got our platoon. We did really well in California. Like our platoon operated really well. We were really synced. We really, we really grooving in California. And while we were in California, this brawl happened between, of course, the tankers and the engineers. And my buddy, who was my sergeant from my first deployment, who requested me to his platoon, he was still in second platoon. He there was a big old brawl, and he accidentally punched our sergeant major like in the face.
Oh shit! Don't do
Yeah,
that.
so he got demoted.
Damn it. Was the
And
sergeant major fighting?
No, the sergeant
Oh,
major was trying to break it up, and he saw my buddy, who was like obviously an older Marine. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go grab him and see if he can kind of get everybody calmed down." So my buddy was in the middle of fighting, and I saw it happening, and I was like looking up. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I literally saw the sergeant major grab my buddy's shoulder. Buddy just turned around and straight cold clocked him across the head, dude.
was it a good
Knocked,
one at least?
yeah, dude, straight knocked him on the fucking ground. Sergeant major had a look on his face like, "Holy shit!" Right? And I was like, "Oh no."
Oh
So they
no.
demoted him, and they basically told him that he wasn't allowed to go on the next deployment. Right, my sergeant,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the only sergeant in the platoon. So there was no other. It was like my lieutenant, my gunnery sergeant, my sergeant, and then the corporals, like me and two or three other guys, and then everybody else, like all like 25 or 28 other guys. So like he got he basically got demoted to corporal, and he got basically kicked out. He wasn't allowed to go on a deployment. So basically he was like, all right, well, I want Eggen to take my position as like the guide, as a navigator, as a guy who's the lead truck, the main fucking guy. And my gunny was like, all right, because my sergeant, he believed in me and shit. So luck would have it, I got put in this position. I was initially I was supposed to be the lead truck sweeper. Like I would just get out of the lead truck and I would go sweep and I'd find IEDs and shit. But since he got out, since he was taken back, whatever, not allowed to go, I got moved to his position, which was essentially the navigator, guide, sweep team commander, fucking the lead gun truck, fucking VC. So I got a lot of responsibility dropped on me basically out of nowhere. I didn't like train for this, right? So I didn't train for any of this stuff. I didn't train for like the BFT. I didn't train for, I mean, there's not a lot of training to it, I guess, but basically you learn on the go. But as soon as you got to Afghanistan, bro, they're like, all right, this is what you're doing, blah 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 blah. You're now a squad leader. You're the no, you're a squad leader. You're alpha squad leader, whatever it is. And we had another guy that was like a little bit senior to me, but he was leaving in like 3 months because his contract was up. But our battalion needed all the men they could get, so they used him up until his EAS. So basically, he was there for like 3 months, and once he left, I their guide, like
Hold on, say that again.
the platoon guide.
I lost you there for a second. You said he was there for 3 months, and once he left, what?
Yeah, he was there for like he was there for like 3 4 months, and then once he left, they promoted me to like the platoon guide,
Okay.
which is like a sergeant, staff sergeant, like billet essentially. I was a corporal, dude, so I had a lot of fucking responsibility,
Yeah.
and it was really cool because at the end of the day, I like grew a lot, and I got to become somebody and something that my battalion was like came to be like proud of. I think you know what I mean. So my second point, the first mission we get there, they're like, "Yo, we need you guys to take this logistics train up to Nowzad." And I'm like, "All right." So I find Nowzad on the map, and I find like the best way for us to get there because again, I'm now the navigator, and I have to do all these things, and I have to get us there safely, and I have to get us there like on nice routes and things that aren't going to collapse and bad bridges and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I find this good route, I get us up there, and I don't know, man, about 7 hours into the ride, right? There's some Seabees. Their truck is broken down, and I'm like, all right. So I turn. I'm like, yo, take the lead gun truck. I'm ambitious kind of guy. I'm like, yo, take the lead gun truck. We'll turn around. I could have told a back gun truck to go back there and go handle it. And I was like, yo, pause the whole column. Like, all hold, all hold, all hold. I'm gonna take in a lead gun truck, and I'm gonna go back there and go investigate and go provide them security because that's what I want to go do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, all right, good to go. So I brought my truck back there, and I hop out of my truck, and I'm like, hey, what's up, CBs? You know what's going on? I'm like, hey, what's going on, dude? We're in the middle of like this Afghan Valley, in the middle of fucking Helmand, right? And there was like compounds over there, or whatever. And it's like, yo, what's going on, blah blah. And all I hear is back, and like some like off distance AK firing, right? I'm like, oh fuck. So I look over to like where it's coming from, and I can kind of tell. I'm like, all right, it's not really like it's not gonna be like harmful if I stand here, right? Like I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
not gonna get shot. It's really kind of far away. And I tell my 50 cal gunner, like, hey, dude, check it out. And I turn back to the CBs, and they're fucking nowhere to be found, right? Like, they're nowhere to be found. I was like, where did they go? That was fucking quick. Where did they go? And I'm like looking, and they're like at the front of their vehicle, like grabbing all their shit. They're like, are we getting shot at? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, maybe, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you guys can just keep changing your tire. Like, just keep working, dude. We're on a time thing. I don't want to be here out at night. So, like,
Yeah, for sure.
let's go. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's shooting at us, but we'll take care of that. Like, we're the Marines. You're the Navy.
Yeah.
That's our job. So you fix your tire, and we'll handle the enemy threat, right? So that's what we were initially created for in 1775. So we'll do that now still, right? So I was like, all right, dude. My 50 cal gunner basically finds me. I got him. He's like a few hundred yards out, blah blah. Not a few. I think he's like a several hundred yards out, like 500, 600 yards out. He's like behind a bush, essentially, like right at his compound with an AK, taking a knee, shooting at us. And I was like, well, he was a fucking 500, 600 yards out. That AK probably ain't gonna be fucking hitting us anytime soon. You know, accurately. I mean, bro, I'm a
Yeah.
so I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, dude, go handle it. And I basically get back in my truck because I want to videotape him shooting a 50 cal for the very first time. It's our first mission. We've been in Afghanistan for like 78 hours or something like that, dude. Not even that long. And I grab my camera and I literally bring it up like this. And I just got this video. I have to find it one day and then I'll send it to you. But I got this video of him on the 50 cal, just like rocking, dude, just like this fat ass burst on this one fucking guy, just like way the fuck out in this middle of just one guy in the desert. Like, what was he thinking? Like, there's like 45 trucks, dude. There's at least like 15 to 20 trucks that have guns on it.
Yeah.
Why are you shooting at us with an AK-47? Like, but I mean, I guess that's what happens when you smoke fucking heroin and you grab an AK-47.
Well, they probably shoot at a lot of convoys going by that just keep going. They're like, I'm not even gonna
Probably.
fuck with it. We're in armored trucks. This isn't bothering me.
Yeah, probably. But I was like, nah, bro, take care of that. Of course, he wants to do it. We're like eager. We're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. But then, of course, later on in the day, bad shit does actually happen, and we go on the very first mission. So CB's fixed our tire. We keep pushing. About like 2 or 3 hours after that, the sun's starting to go down, and we come to like a wadi, like a dried up wadi, and we either can go left or right. And if we go right, it's a nice easy route through the wadi, and it's like a nice clear path right to the other side. And if we go left, we kind of gotta like trim along the edge of a cornfield that also is along the edge of the wadi. So like if they put an IED in the cornfield, we could technically get rolled and like get hit by an IED and roll into the wadi.
Yeah.
And now you're dealing with a fucking rollover.
Yeah. Now you're underwater too. Yeah.
Well, they didn't have no water. There was no. It was.
Okay. It was dry.
It was dried up bed, so there was no water, but it was definitely like a 15-foot like cliff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you didn't want a truck rolling over in that because then you got a bunch of wounded Marines and maybe some killed. Maybe the truck's on fire. Who the fuck knows, dude? It could be a fucking shit show. You can't get the doors open. You never know, dude. There could be really a lot of things that go wrong. So I was like, damn, dude, I really don't want to go trim along that cliff. I'd rather go this easy way. And this is, of course, my first fucking day here, my first mission to be like, prove myself, right? So I was like, all right, fuck it, we're going to take the easy way because, again, I don't want a truck rolling and there's 70 fucking trucks behind us. Well, we go the easy fucking way, and the first Husky pushes through fine. The second Husky goes through in a second.
Real quick, you want to explain what a Husky is for those that don't know?
Yeah, so a Husky is a one-man vehicle that basically looks like a little bulldozer that's real thin. It's probably like 2 feet, maybe 2.5, 3 feet wide, and it has 2 front wheels and 2 back wheels that have like aluminum it's designed to get blown up and be blown apart, and then put new wheels on to the actual like center hub of the Husky, and then you can just keep rolling. So like Huskies have like interchangeable. They're these beautiful vehicles that like are designed. Like the bottom of them looks like a knife, where they have the V-shaped hole with like a 6-inch steel all around the V-shaped hole, and it's a one-man little vehicle. So it's a really really cool little vehicle, but they really fucking suck to like get blown up in, right? Like you don't want to get blown up in it. Like no,
I wouldn't want to ride in one. I've seen a few get blown up too, and I'm like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, no, it sucks ass, dude. Trust me, it's the worst. So the second one goes through and gets hit, right? And you're like, there it is. There it was. And as soon as he gets hit, and mind you, I told the convoy to stay back like 100 or 200 meters so I could push up and investigate both to see which one would be the best route. Because I didn't want to commit to one and then we're all fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, of course...
Then you got to back everybody up and try to go the other way.
Which is, of course, what happened. So I'm glad that I made these decisions at the time, right? So, like, we're getting in now a gunfight. Like, as soon as the second Husky gets blown up, the other Husky is, like, stranded across a wadi by itself with no gun. They don't have any guns. And now there's my gun truck, and we're getting shot at by 2 different compounds on the other side of the wadi. And in between the compounds, and the wadi, there's a big open field, and the field is probably like, I don't know, man, like waist high,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're getting in a gunfight, and this is how my like first mission went in Afghanistan. And I mean, I do talk about this in my books and stuff. So I mean, I don't know if it's like something that I shouldn't talk about or whatever, but I mean, it is kind of like a weird, touchy subject. But basically, we start getting shot at, bro, and in the midst of the gunfight, basically like this kid fucking pops up in the middle of in between the buildings with an AK and just like starts lighting up our truck.
Oh, really? Jeez. How far away?
I'd say like 150, 200 meters,
Okay.
right? And I'm sitting in the passenger seat of the truck, looking out the window, and I can see this kid standing there, and I can see that he has a fucking AK-47, and I can see that the window to his left is lighting up, and the other like hole in the wall to the other building is lighting up. So now there's like three different AKs, and my buddy is on the gun, and he looks down at me with like this look in his eye that I'll never fucking forget, dude. And he was like, "Bro, that's a fucking kid." And I was like, "You can handle it, like, you know what I mean? Fucking kill him. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, he's fucking shooting at us. Like, we're not gonna get through here and finish this day and finish our mission if we don't eliminate the fucking threat that's firing upon us, dude." So,
Yeah.
you know, he was like, you know, and he did his fucking job, dude.
That's
And
tough, man. How old do you think that kid was?
he was 12 years old. I knew he was 12
It,
because the family came to us afterwards with his body. And it was all split. His body was split in half, dude. I mean, I remember watching the whole thing happen. I mean, watching the 50 cal rounds walk into his body was something I'll never forget, dude.
that's insane, man. That's and it's hard again for someone that's never been over there, man. It's a different world. Like that's not common,
Right.
but you're not like, oh, well, that's so uncommon that I'm surprised by it. You know what I'm saying? Like war's a fucking bitch for real, and those places these kids are fighting too.
Right, and it's the thing is like that's exactly right. These kids are fighting for the fucking I don't. That's what they're fighting. They're fighting us. So we had to make these decisions. These are decisions they have to make in moments that are shorter than these than the few seconds that we have here talking. You know what I mean? These moments that we have in these seconds that we have these little short little conversations. Like it takes 2 seconds to go to press a butterfly trigger on a 50 cal. You know what I mean? To end somebody's life. So it's like.
But it also takes less than that time for that kid to pull the trigger and kill one of the Marines there too.
I mean, dude, our truck was getting lit up. I mean, I'll never again on there's that day I'll never forget. That's why I'm talking so much about it because it was our first fucking like mission. It was basically our first day in Afghanistan, dude. And our truck was being lit up, dude, and the sound of my MRAP being hit by fucking 7.62 rounds by three different fucking people that were like 200 yards away across like an open field that I could see them and shit. Like that sound. I'll never forget those dings and shit that were happening, hitting into our truck. That was fucking nuts. I mean, they were hitting the ground, hitting our truck and shit. I mean, that was just an all around bad day. But I mean, it was he obviously my buddy obviously ended that very quickly by eliminating his targets, right? So we that happened, and then essentially we got through and we got the Husky back. We didn't go that way. We turned around. We got the Huskies back, and we got the second Husky that got blown up. We put on the back of a 7-ton flatbed, and then we got back in. I went the left way, and we trimmed along the cornfields. There was no IDs. There was no nothing. We trimmed along, got over the right way, got over to the base, and basically like that night, like that guy came with his kid, bro. He like came with his kid and was like, "Yo, they killed my fucking kid. Like, I want like money or whatever it was." Like he was talking to the base, and the base, I don't really know what happened.
They pay them, yeah. The civil affairs guys pay them.
Something happened, whatever it was. But they came and asked us, and I remember my lieutenant coming up to me and my buddy that around like a fire, and he was like, "Are you guys sure that whatever you saw is what you guys saw?" And I was like, "Bro, what I saw is 100,000% what I fucking saw, and we could have gone over there and picked up a fucking AK from his fucking body. That's a fact."
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Because I saw the flashes coming from his fucking gun, dude.
Yeah,
I saw the flashes coming. When an AK-47 is shooting at you, you know what I mean? Not only does it distinctly sound a certain way, but you can see it, dude. You can see it, And I was like that, So, we did what we had to do, but
that's the reality, man. That's the reality.
We pushed on, and we went up to a fob Nowzat, I think is what they called it. And we stayed up there for the night. And once we stayed there for the night, then we pushed over to east over to like Musikela area, and we were over there for a little bit, and then yeah, man, then we pushed over into Sangin at some point early on, about a week after that. They were like, all right, we're going into Sangin, and then to go basically push up to FOB or whatever. It wasn't even a FOB at the point. It was like a patrol. It was a recon patrol base. It was called Alcatraz.
Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz. So we went up there, and as soon as we got to Alcatraz, I remember getting to Alcatraz, dude, and there was like two like Mat V's like there, and there was like a recon. There was like a tent, and there was like a bunch of weights and shit outside, and there was two Mat V's, and there was a bunch of like recon dudes walking around in Crocs and Sokies, and I was like, fuck yes, this is my
fuck yes.
I was like, dude, this is good motherfucker. I rocked Crocs, and I've been wearing. I mean, as soon as I got Sokies from boot camp, that's been my underwear since then. I mean, my underwear to this day has been Sokies. I've been wearing Sokies my whole entire life because I can literally just take them off and I can go run and I can go to the beach.
You can do so many activities.
So many fucking activities, especially with Crocs too, man. I love Crocs because those are again like water shoes you can just wear wherever, and they're ergonomic. They feel great on your fucking back and your feet. Dude.
I've never owned a pair of Crocs. You know, I'm one of those people that I guess I don't know what I'm missing. You know,
just if you do go to like the mall and just go to like Journeys and be like, yo, I want to try on a pair of Crocs. And just try on like a nice pair. Do them with socks, dude. Wear a pair of Crocs with socks and just try them on, bro, and be like, fuck.
I think last time I went to a Journeys, I was like 19 and buying like Doc Martin fucking
yeah,
shoes.
Dude, listen to the fucking Smiths and shit. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, go get like $30.
Were you out there? Was that was second recon, right? That was up at Alcatraz. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so for those that don't know, Sangin is the Sangin Valley, Sangin Town, whatever you want to call it. 611 is the main road that runs, south to north through it. And then Fob Jackson is on like the middle of the town part of it. It's not in like the southern part of Sangin or anything. It's like in the middle of the town piece. Alcatraz is like the northernmost patrol base within like the Sangin area. But beyond that was like Pouze. There was an area up there called Pouze. And I don't remember what was beyond that. But my buddy Matt Gay was actually the wrecker operator with Recon, and he was one of the guys that went up there, and it was basically like, all right, we're building a patrol base, dig a hole to sleep in, and then they built it from like the ground up. PB Alcatraz.
When I got there, it was nothing, dude. It was kind of cool, man, because they had like some Afghan national dudes that were living in like some mud hut up there.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, well, tomorrow we're gonna push out the perimeter like 15 or 20 yards or so. I don't know what the fuck they said, but we found like 4 IEDs the next day on like the perimeter push, like pushing out the perimeter of Alcatraz to make it bigger, to make the base bigger.
What would you do when you found one? Because a lot of times for people that don't know, like if you find an IED and you're on a mission, you call back for EOD support. They come in and they bip it, blow in place, or disable it, or whatever they're going to do. Your guys' roles kind of faded into each other, like EOD and the engineer. So what was your role like if you guys found an IED?
So we would just get rid of ourselves, dude. Like, so the
why wait, right?
No, there was no waiting. Like, there's no such. So when people talk to me about that and they go, oh, you have to wait for EOD, and we were out there for 2 hours waiting for EOD, and I was like, well, what was your job? Well, I was logistics. I'm like, well, you were logistics. You had to wait for EOD. I was a combat engineer. Well, what's a combat engineer? Well, we play with explosives.
Yeah, I got this.
I can just put C4 on there and blow it up, and we can just keep fucking going.
Like, I got some in my truck. It's right here.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's what we did. So at the end of the day, I mean, we had EOD attached to us, right? But on my first deployment, we had 3 Marine Corps EOD guys, and those guys were balls to the wall, some of the most laxed, craziest fucking dudes I've ever seen in my life. Like, literally, bro, there was a fucking 50-gallon drum one time, and we're sitting there watching this guy, and there's like wires leading up to it from like the bushes going into the 50-gallon drum, and he's just walking up to it, and he just fucking flips open the top of it like it's a fucking beer can, and he pulls out the wires, and I'm looking at him as I'm listening to him over the radio, and he like, it's like this memorable image in my mind, bro. He just goes over, flicks open the top, like it could have just exploded right then and there, right?
Yeah.
He walks over, his fucking chin strap's all undone. He walks over, flips open, reaches in. I mean, his whole body, like half his body goes into the barrel, reaches in, pulls out like a cluster of like wires that lead to nothing, like just to like fuck with him, right? And he literally pulls it out, and all over the radio goes, "Yep, they're just fucking with me." You know, he just drops on the fucking ground and just walked away, and I was like, bro, you know, so my that's what I'm saying. Like my first deployment kind of opened my eyes to like, you know, a lot of these like tropes that you don't want to like get in, that you don't want to like fall into, right? You don't want to fall into like the whole like, oh, if I'm, you know, like going and like shaking and like looking for an IED, bro, that IED is gonna fucking go off, or it's not gonna go off. And if it's a
Yeah.
pressure plate, it's not gonna go off unless you smush that fucking pressure plate. So if it's a pressure plate IED, you can cut the fucking wires and you can basically throw it around and slam it around, do whatever the fuck you want with it. It's not gonna go off. You know what I mean? Unless that
Mm-hmm.
electrical current goes off. But unless you when you clip those copper wires, it doesn't. So basically, I mean, there's a lot of different pressure plates, but the main ones that we dealt with when I was in Sangin was pressure plates and stuff, right? So and like pressure release, like ones that had like pressure release, pressure plates, pressure release. They had like
There's pull
kick
string
run.
ones I remember.
There,
Like,
there was a pull string one once that we dealt with a guy on a motorcycle. Oof, that was a nasty time. He lit it off too early. He lit it off like 50 yards in front of our truck, dude. It was a big one, probably 150 pounder, and he lit it off, and he lit it off too early, and it went too big. And I mean, it went too soon. It was really big, went off too soon, and he took off on his bike, and he was taking off, and you could see the white
the,
like land cord pull string like hanging from his bike as he was taking off, and like three or four trucks back, dude, just immediately as soon as they saw the bike, all you heard was my lieutenant on the radio was like, "We got him!" Like on his truck, like his truck got him, and his 50 cal gunner just opened up, bro, and that guy's bike just like caught on fire. I mean, the whole bike, he went over the handlebars, like that's basically like decimated the dude into like
yeah.
nothing and caught his whole bike on fire. But yeah, that was another one of those. You know, Afghanistan was full of those like little scenes where you're just like, look at that fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
he
just crazy shit. And they all move around on motorbikes too, man.
yeah,
Sometimes they get away, sometimes they don't.
little Haji Davidsons. Yeah,
For sure. It's funny. We had one time we were in Marjah. There was I don't remember why we were looking at this one compound, and I think we had maybe someone had gotten shot at, and we tracked the vehicles there or something. I don't remember what it was. We were watching this compound, and we're like, hey, there are dudes in this compound. There's like bad dudes in this compound, and we had a mounted patrol heading towards the compound. And I'm in the COC. I was the fire chief for this deployment, so I'm in the COC watching everything from the for those that don't know, the command center. I'm watching all the ISR feeds, the Predator feeds, and stuff like that. And as the convoy, as this mounted patrol is getting close to the compound, all of a sudden, like 8 motorbikes come flying out of it at one time because they did the whole like, hey, we're gonna scramble and just take off all in different directions. And there was one guy that was lagging behind, one motorbike. I think there might have been 2 guys on it or something. I don't know. And we're watching this feed on this like 70-inch TV, and we're watching this happen. We're like, fuck, man, there goes all the motorbikes. Because we were lining up, high marsh shot if we needed to. I think the JTAC was getting air ready just in case, And we watch these dudes all spread, and we're like, fuck. And what are we going to do? And then out of the bottom of the screen, we see this Matt V just coming up the screen. We're like, is that a Matt V? We're like, oh shit, is he shooting? He's shooting. And you could see from the feed the gunner shooting at this motorbike, and the rounds and they're moving, dude. And then you can see the Matt V's like probably going 40 over these like dirt bumps and shit. Motorbike's trying to run away. He's shooting, knocks the motorbike over, and then the Matt V runs one dude over on the motorbike, does like a power slide, and starts chasing down this other dude that's running through the desert. And they ended up getting him too. But we were watching this like, oh no, these guys are all going to get away. Then all of a sudden, like, what is happening? Like, oh shit, he just ran him over. Like, holy crap.
It's like an action movie where they got like chariots. What's that song? Chariots of Fire.
Yeah. It was insane. It was like one of those things like, holy shit, I'm glad I saw that. I'm glad we got that on video. Like, we need to save that. I wish I knew where that video was. That was pretty cool.
I didn't get anything on video. They did. I know that they did get ISR on our gunfight on July 7th. 2011. I do know that because my gunny, he brought me back to the COC and he was like, bro, look at this.
That's
he
cool.
showed me my I shot off a few 40 mic mics into a building, pretty surgical with it, and he showed me my shots and he showed me like the gun run and shit afterwards, and I was just like, this is a sick fucking video, dude. Like, holy shit, right?
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool you saw it.
Yeah, but it was definitely because he was, my gunny and me were, we're so close as day. He still calls me and stuff, and we still talk. But he was cool, man. He smoked bud with me in Afghanistan. We smoked a lot on my second deployment. We smoked a lot of bud, dude. Like
This
a
is
lot of.
insane. Like people keep telling me that they did like they smoked weed or they did drugs while they were in the Marines. I was so like afraid of losing my career. They
Like,
had me like I never.
my first deployment, this kid had to get a stomach pump, bro, when we were in Marjah from heroin.
That's insane, dude. I was in a
It's
different
bad.
Marine Corps, I think. I don't remember anything like this happening. Like any people getting like in mass doing drugs and stuff. Your
Bro, it
occasional
was.
pops here and there, but
Oh no, dude. We on my second deployment, and I guess I'm gonna incriminate myself. I guess I don't know. I don't know
you're
if
out
any of this
now.
could be incriminating. It's not real. Nothing I'm saying is nothing I'm about to say is real. But basically, we were going down these hills, and there was this one field that had a bunch of buds, and they were just growing a bunch of weed. And I told the guys behind me, I was like, bros, when we go down this hill, slow your truck down so like my truck can get to the hill as quickly as we can. I can hop out, I can chop down some of these trees, we can maybe get some bud, and then nobody will see me behind us if you keep your truck going slow. And they're like, all right, dude, cool. And we definitely planned it out one time. It was like a month and a half later. We went by the plants, and yeah, dude, I hopped out, fucking had a little machete, cut down as much plants I could carry, like within my arms and shit, and stumbled back into my truck, and
That's
we like
crazy.
we clipped the stalks with all the nuggets and threw all the stalks out the gunner's turret on Route One, riding back to Leatherneck, and we had like a garbage bag full of like marijuana nuggets, dude.
I would have been too. I don't know. I mean, I'm pro cannabis. Obviously, before the Marine Corps, I was smoking. I've smoked now. I'm all about it. But being in and being overseas, like I don't know, man. I didn't even drink at all. Like I was in Iraq, and I remember a bunch of my buddies all got hammered one night, and I'm like, dude, fuck that. Like I'm not even trying to drink out here. One, and get in trouble. Two, be hungover in Iraq in the summertime. Like no.
Oh, dude, there's a guy. He got a bunch of like the ingredients mailed to him to make like homemade alcohol. So basically, he got a bunch of like 5 gallon, water drums, and basically made his own. He started fermenting his own alcohol. He kept them on the side of a truck for like 2 or 3 weeks, dude. And finally, he started pouring everybody like this Afghan boot juice, dude. And we started
Fucking
like
rancid ass hooch.
it was really, really, really bad. And I remember being back because I remember so as a rock clearance team, as my rock clearance team on my second deployment, we would go to Leatherneck for like R&R, right? We would go to Leatherneck for like showers, for refuel, to refit our ammo,
Mm-hmm.
to refit our food, to refit our water, whatever it was. We'd go back for like a day or 2 days, and we'd go back up to Sangin. Because like I said, we were our own little like base driving around, bro. We could do basically whatever the fuck we want to do
Did
as we
you
go.
guys make it back to the fobs every night, or did you find yourself sleeping on the truck a lot?
No, sometimes we slept out. Like I said, we would sleep out in the middle of nowhere. We would just like 360 our trucks in like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we would find bases like like a Georgian base or like uh other like Marine Corps base. Like mainly we use a lot of the Georgian bases like Shukvani,
Yeah,
Sharpuzzi, fuck, I don't even remember their names. They're all such weird names, dude. But they were the country Georgia in Eastern Europe. So we would go to these bases where these guys were at, and dude, there's some crazy fucking stories from those bases, dude. Like there's one night, and you know how that old like trope in like Vietnam, the guys like smoking cigarettes, getting shot in the face, like on watch and shit.
oh yeah.
So like there was a Georgian soldier who was and like I was sleeping in my fucking hammock and I was on the Georgian base. Like in my hammock I was sleeping, I would hook up the hammock in between the mine roller, the in between the back of the mine roller and the front of the truck. So my hammock would sleep in between, like the neck of the mine roller. So I would sleep right there and I was sleeping there one night on the base over in the parking lot or that are like the staging lot that our trucks were at. And I heard like a bunch of commotion, a bunch of shit going on, bro. I didn't hear the shot or anything. I just heard a bunch of commotion and shit. And I heard a bunch of people running and stuff, and I go over there, and I see them, and I hear a helicopter coming in, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude! Like it's all happening in a very quickly amount of minutes. And I get up out of my hammock, and I put my boots on. I run over there to like where all these people are running, and all these Georgians and like other like maybe an Italian and maybe like some U.S. dudes, like some Marine stuff. They were all like, you know, basically moving everybody out of the way. And this dude had a fucking gnarly gash, dude. Like basically right here, like his whole shit was like blown open, like
Oh,
all right here was like blown wide open. And they're like trying to hold his shit together and like get him to the helicopter and like, you know,
like
get
his
him
chin was blown out.
like his shit. Yeah, like
Oh, his jaw
like
blown
his,
off.
yeah, like it was more of like his jaw and his neck,
God,
right?
that's
It was just
gnarly.
like it was like blown out, and I was like,
That's a lot
fuck.
of blood from that too.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, what the fuck? I mean, he's probably gonna die. Like, fuck, right? Like, and I come to find out that, you know, he was smoking a fucking cigarette up in the tower, like the watchtower,
And
and
he got
just standing,
sniped.
like, yeah, and he got fucking sniped. He was standing there, like, leaning over on the watchtower, fucking smoking, dude.
That's like
And
the
it got,
most basic thing, you know. Like you learn that in war movies, like you're talking about, you know.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, come on, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, they tell it's a joke in boot camp because they don't think anybody's gonna be that dumb. But then again, like I said, you're dealing with these Georgian dudes, bro. So like, they're on a whole different level of life. Right?
Yeah,
So like, so that I remember those looked like that with the Georgians. Like, this is fucking nuts, dude. I can't believe somebody just got shot from smoking a cigarette like that. Like, I thought that was like you said, I thought it was like in movies and shit, right? It was weird. But like that's like what we did. We would go to base and like sleep around like that, right? So, but basically towards we also did this operation called Operation Black Sand, where we there was these things called MICLIC charges. I don't know if
yep.
you ever heard of a MICLIC charge. So basically, they shot off. I think it was like 79
You
MICLIC
you want to
charges.
explain what a miklik is for those that don't know the
Right.
mine clearing line charge?
So the MICLIC, I don't know the actual like the acronym, the nomenclature name for it, but I do know that the MICLIC charge is basically a tank. They use what they call an ABV, an assault breacher vehicle, which is basically a modified tank, which is the chassis of a tank with the tracks and the belly, the inside, but they take the big gun off of the tank and they put this other sort of trajectory. It's like kind of like a gun, but it's like a Nerf gun kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Not a Nerf, but it shoots something. It shoots a projectile that is connected to a string of explosives, and a string of explosives every foot or every like 6 inches. There's like 2 blocks of C4, or like a pound of C4 or something like that. So there's this. It looks like if you ever go fishing, like a commercial fishing, you know those things they drop off the back of the fishing that have the nets.
Yeah,
That you know, every periodically there's like a big buoy that holds it up.
yeah.
That's essentially what it looks like without the bottom net. It just when it shoots it off, it goes, and you can hear it go like a little flickering, and then when it flies through the air and then it lands on the ground, and it's meant to clear a route without having to send in anybody, but it clears it with, I think it's like 1,700 or 1,470 something pounds of explosives. It's a grand amount of pounds of explosives that's connected to this thing. And also on the front of the ABVs, there's
Mm-hmm.
like a claw thing that sits like underneath. So you can basically stick the claw like 2 or 3 feet underground, and you can basically push the IEDs to the ground without exploding them.
It
So
like digs
ABVs
them
are,
up. Yeah,
yeah, it digs them up. Yeah, they're not bad vehicles, right? They're all right, but they like tanks. They got a lot of fucking issues, like mechanical issues and track issues, and
there's just
it doesn't.
logistics nightmare. It's huge.
Yeah,
It's
it
got to
doesn't
have its
make
own
it fucking.
wrecker, like all that
Yeah,
shit.
dude, they're one of them. So there was this operation called Operation Black Sand, where we had to bring the ABV platoon up to the city, and the
Mm-hmm.
city was up in I think it was like near Musikela, basically. But they basically this bazaar killed a few of our battalion's Marines like a few months before that, like in March, I think that one of our like an EDD dog, the detection dogs. That was my buddy who became a triple amp that I said earlier. One of the 13 of us. My buddy who became a triple amp. He was going through a doorway with another Marine, and the other Marine was killed, and he became a triple amp. So, and a few other Marines got wounded that were infantry Marines that got killed the same day.
Was he with 6 Marines? Or no?
I
This
don't
wouldn't have been.
I don't
Man,
know exactly what company who they or what Marines or what infantry unit they were attached to. But I do know that they were
send
in,
send me your buddy's name after we're done. You don't have to say it on here, but you can send it to me after we're done because my corpsman was in Sangin, And one of my corpsmen on my advisor team, he went to Sangin 3 times. All 3 of his deployments were to Sangin. And his first one, he was there for like a month. And as they went into a house, it blew it up. And they had put a line charge in it. They had put a dog on the door and something else. But when they went in, they set off a pressure plate and it killed a dude. I think one dude was a triple amp and he got injured as well. That'd be crazy if it was the same one.
Yeah, I mean, it really might be because my buddy became a dog handler after his second deployment to Afghanistan, and on his third deployment he got hit and he became a triple amp. But yeah,
man, crazy, man.
So basically, what happened then was our battalion was like, "You're gonna kill some of our fucking guys and kill our dogs. Well, we're gonna fucking remove your whole entire fucking bazaar from the face of the earth." So basically, that's exactly what they did. Over the course of I think it was 10 days or 9 days. First we brought the ABV platoon up to this bazaar, and they wanted us to clear out the wadi so 2 or 3 ospreys could land in the wadi to, like, if anything needed to happen, right? Like just on the outskirts of the bazaar before they started. So when we started doing that, this is the first time I've ever taken. This is actually the second time I've ever taken IDF. Was this right here? I was out there sweeping, and I got to the furthest point away from everybody else. Away from the rest of the Marines that were the staging area. We were out there sweeping, and they started dropping mortars on us from pretty far away, and they started dropping them they started like walking them onto us, and that was one of the scariest things I think I've ever experienced in my entire life was mortars. Getting shot at is you're on like a plane, you know what I mean? You're like this, you know. IEDs, they're like this, you know, they come like this. Mortars, it's from here, and I don't like that.
There's a lot of unknown. Yeah, there's a lot of unknown. When's it gonna stop? Where's it coming from?
One of my buddies, he told me one thing. One of my good friends, and he told me something early on. He was a corporal when I was a PFC. He was one of those guys that went to Iraq a bunch, you know. And he was a really salty kind of guy. His camis were like white, right? He told me, he goes, "Listen, if you can hear the mortar, then it's not on top of you. If you can't hear it, then you're gonna die."
All right.
So that actually helped me out in life on the first time I took mortars. I was in Bagram, and I went up to Bagram for a 2-week course to go learn how to go be legally officially licensed through the U.S. government to blow in place. So we didn't. So like we talked about earlier, EOD and shit. Like as an engineer, they put us through a certain like bipping school. So if we did die doing that, then it wouldn't look bad on them. They
could say, "Hey, we trained him."
Right, yeah. I mean, he was already an engineer. He could have done it himself already, but since we put him through this extra schooling, he shouldn't have. Just shit like that, right? So like,
yeah. Well, I mean, also they're probably just trying to say, "Hey, we gave him as much training as we could before we sent him downrange," you know.
That's what I'm thinking too. Another thing. So when I was after my first mission up to Nalzad and that Musa Kayla one where that kid got killed, they sent me and like 2 other guys to Bagram for like a week and a half to go do this bipping training, right? And we did that, and when I was up at Bagram, we were walking to the chow hall, and the chow hall I could hear the whistle. And that's when in my mind, I go, he told me that if I could hear the whistle, that I won't get fucking killed, but I'll probably get wounded, right? But I heard the fucking whistle, and I go, what the fuck was that? And I go, oh shit, that's a fucking mortar. And as soon as I said, oh shit, that's a fucking mortar, the entrance to the chow hall just fucking exploded, blew me and my buddies like back, dude. Like we had coffee from Green Bean because we're like, oh, let's go get some coffee from Green Bean.
Yeah.
We're like salty Marines. We don't have this kind of cool shit back where we're at, so let's go get some cool coffee. And we got sandwiches. We get midnight sandwiches because the chow hall only sells sandwiches at midnight, so that's cool. So we're like, let's go do that. So we were walking to the chow hall after we had a Green Bean, all happy go lucky.
Just having a good day.
Having a good old day. It was like midnight or something like that, dude. It was nice, it was nice outside. It was just a good night, And all I heard was this coming in. I was like, motherfucker. And the chow hall just blew up and basically blew us back. And I remember hearing all those shards from the metal of the mortar just flying past us, dude. It sounded like being in a gunfight, but it was a little bit more heavy. Like it was heavier because of the metal. I don't know. It was a little bit different. It was like, it looked like a firework almost too, because all the pieces of metal were just flying everywhere. They're all hot and like orange and glowing, and they were just flying everywhere. And it was like, it's really, really bad. And I remember standing up and looking around, and the church was behind us. And I remember looking at the church, and the church was like littered with like holes. And I have pictures somewhere on my laptop. I have them. I'll have to send you. And I have a picture of this metal chair that got hit inside the chow hall, and it's just like it looks like a fucking piece of cheese. It's all holed out. It's like no like structure to it.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah, it sucked. It was terrible, dude.
Did it
And that,
did it hit
it,
anyone though?
yeah, this one of the chefs inside had a piece of shrapnel in his stomach, and my buddy was like attending to his wound and shit, and it was like helping him before by the like helping
Medical.
him before the helping him before the ambulance came and stuff. And that was my buddy definitely should have got like some award for that for sure. I feel like, but we are both our noses were like broke. We had like black and blue eyes for the next like month, dude. From that,
Jeez.
because in Bagram in Afghanistan they use those big fat river rocks for the bases, like
Do
walk around on.
they? Okay. I don't know.
So
I've
like
never been to Bagram.
well, they do it on kind of like I don't know if they do it on Leatherneck too, but they put the river rocks out there so like when helicopters and planes or like sand or whatever takes off or comes in,
Yeah.
the sand doesn't get kicked up. It's a big fat river rock, right? So like when the mortar came in and we fell on the ground, our faces smacked into these big fat river rocks, dude. And it
Bummer.
sucked. Yeah, it sucked ass. My buddy was like we just looked really bad. When we got back, we were like, yo, we got hit by a fucking mortar. They're like, no, the fuck you didn't. They're like, oh, look at our face, bro. Look at these pictures. Look at this fucking chair. They're like, holy shit, dude. Like, holy fuck. Everybody's like kind of blown away that we like legit like basically got hit by a fucking mortar. Like it was kind of unheard of, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. That's
not
crazy.
unheard of, but I mean, Bagram does get hit by mortars, but like this one really got really close, dude. It almost killed some people. Like it almost killed us, and we were really close to like getting really wounded, dude. And I mean, luckily we just didn't.
That's
And
crazy.
it was nuts, bro. It really was.
And no time off, right? Just right back into it.
Yeah, it was really just no time off, right back into it, dude.
There's a
And
war going on.
yeah, as soon as we got back, blah blah. Basically, they were sweeping out there at this wadi, and they started mortaring us. Now this is the second time I've been mortared. And this one I didn't. This was the worst one, dude. The first one, obviously, I was walking. I was unprepared. I was just like kind of chilling. My vibe was down. I was chilling. This one where we're sweeping, I was sweeping, so I was like, all right, people are gonna might start shooting at us. And as we got further away from the staging area, you start to like get a little that like eerie feeling of like, all right, bro, there's a town right there, like 100 yards from us. I can see people moving and shit. Like this is getting fucking sketchy as fuck as I keep walking further away. Like it's getting
Mm-hmm.
sketchier to get closer to them and further away from my Marines and closer to the enemy, essentially, right? Like, so we got to this like choke point, the furthest point away, where the wadi kind of comes like this,
Mm-hmm.
like a choke point. And
Yeah.
there was like these trees on the end of the bank on that like little on those stick out points of the bank. There was these trees and shit on the bank, and we got to there, and as soon as we got there, we hit the U-turn. We started walking back, started sweeping back, and that's when I started mortaring. They started getting really close. They started hitting those trees, and that's when like have you seen Band of Brothers and shit when they're like the trees are like being splintered and like
Yeah. They are
the
gone.
woods. Yeah, dude. It was essentially kind of like that, dude. It was kind of like that, but it was like a small little Afghan tree, and I was like, get me the fuck out of here, bro. I like fell on the ground because like it was all like really kind of intense, like right behind me, and I was really kind of scared of getting splintered in my back of the neck and shit, dude. I just was like, I looked over at my buddy, he looked over at me, and we both had like the same look in our eye, like, I'm not sweeping back, dude.
Yeah.
There's no fucking IEDs out here. This is a fucking dried up riverbed, dude. There's no IEDs. Like
Mm-hmm.
fuck that. So we then they started getting closer. So he had a look in his eye like, I'm running, dude. I was like, I'm running with you, bro. We just basically like flicked our mine rollers to the side, took our rifles, and just like ran back to the trucks, bro, and like got out of there as quickly as possible because I was not going to be KIA to some fucking IDF, dude. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. For
yeah,
sure.
so we got out of there, and then basically that whole mission, basically we cleared a nice little area for the ABVs to start staging other shit, right? And the ABVs, and I guess they were supposed to use it for like ospreys, but I guess they used it for like staging area. And that's where another thing comes in is one of the lieutenants that was out there, a brand new fresh lieutenant, wanted his own staging area for his own area to chill at, and he called in this guy that was there strictly to watch because he was part of the platoon that got hurt there like a few months prior, but he was staying behind extra to like make sure that he could watch it and videotape it being destroyed for the families of the people who were killed and shit. So like he was staying behind extra, but this lieutenant needed an area sweep. So this kid volunteered to go sweep there. I don't know if he volunteered or they were like, or if he was riding with the lieutenant, and the lieutenant said, "Hey, you need to sweep this area." But he went to go sweep the fucking area, and so this was just before we started taking IDF, me and my buddy. We were still walking towards like out there, right? And we heard a big boom go off behind us, and we're like, "God damn it, what the fuck was that, dude?" And it was the guy who was supposed to be there just watching as a fucking bystander, and this lieutenant asked him to go fucking sweep his own little personal area for him, and he stepped on a fucking IED and lost both his fucking legs.
God damn it, dude.
And I was like, God damn it, dude. And it was literally right before we started taking IDF too, so it was like it was all in a matter of like 10 minutes. Like he got hit. Everybody's like, what the fuck's going on? All the radio chatters freaking out, bro. And they're calling, oh, somebody got hit by an ID. You know, this guy got hit, and they didn't call a medevac. And then as soon as that's all going off, they're trying to call a medevac. 2 or 3 minutes later, now we're taking IDF, right? And I was like, God damn, dude, what a shit show of a day. And then basically, at the end of the day, all the ABVs are set up. And my gunny calls me up to this big overwatch position that's like on top of this hill. It takes us like 15, 20 minutes to walk up top of it. It's really a big ass fucking hill. We get to the top of it, and he goes, bro, I want you to watch this. And I go, all right. And my gunny, like I said, my gunny's really cool to me, bro. So he always wanted like show me things that only like company or like platoon sergeants got to do type of things, right? So he was like, I want to show you this. So basically, he brought me up to the top of the hill so I could watch a Marine Corps mortar team fire down on the other mortar teams that were trying to kill me. And he was like, watch this. And they basically, it was like 2 or 3 shots these 2 or 3 teams did, and they eliminated these two guys on these tubes.
Hell
and
yeah.
They're like, fuck yeah, right? And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's fucking sick.
That's sick.
I was like, that's fucking sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these guys shot at me earlier. 2 hours later, I'm up on top of a hill and binos watching you guys get fucking decimated from Earth, dude. Yeah, like, watch us. We're not gonna fucking miss.
Yeah.
You know, we got these guys are.
These dudes are pros over here.
Yeah, these guys, these 19-year-old kids, they love this shit, dude. You know what I mean?
I bet.
They're on it, bro. So that was a really good moment. So then the ABVs spent the next 10 days basically shooting off 79 MICLIC charges over top this bazaar, and it's called Operation Black Sand. And I think you can go on the internet and you can go to YouTube and you can look up Operation Black Sand. And my gunnery sergeant is in the video, and he's being interviewed by the combat camera because we did have a combat camera attached to our platoon for this specific mission.
Cool, that's cool. I'll have to look it up. It's probably still on DVids then.
Yeah, no, it has to be for sure because it was a very big operation, bro. It's called Operation Black Sand, and it was like the epitome. It was like the only how would you say it was like the dog and pony show for the ABVs in Afghanistan. It was like the time to shine for ABVs forever. Like this was the moment that ABVs were gonna forever shine. So that's why you can go on YouTube and still find it because it's like so many of these fucking ABV things were there, and so many of these MICLICs were shot.
70 MICLICs, that's crazy.
It was like 79, yeah. It was like 79. It was almost 80 over the course of like 7 or 10 days, and they literally removed this fucking bazaar from the face of the earth, dude.
If people that haven't seen a MICLIC charge, one, and that's unfortunate because it's super cool, but I can't imagine seeing 70, almost 80 over a 7 to 10 day period. Like that's 7 a day.
Absurd.
That's like 7 or 8 a day, yeah.
It was a lot a day, dude. It was very absurd. And mind you, some of them didn't go off the right way. So some guys had to go back out, and some guys had to go, like, recharge them. They call it the Medal of Honor run, dude. We got to go out there and go recharge a MICLIC. Basically, it's dead. But if it goes off while you're out there, Medal of Honor run, buddy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I guess if it goes off, you don't have to worry about it.
That's the whole thing with IEDs. That's
right.
Why I love it, dude. You know what I mean? It's like it's my problem until it's not my problem anymore.
That's why EOD guys get like they are. I remember going on a mission, and I was sitting there bullshitting with the EOD guy before we took off on this helo insert. And when we landed, it was supposedly a IED making facility and drug facility or some shit like that. And I get off, and I'm just kind of walking around with the EOD dude, and because I'm like an attachment to the platoon as well. I'm an FO. They just brought me out there in case something happened. And this dude is walking around just poking everything with his fucking K-bar. He's just sticking his K-bar into everything. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm going to go over here and fucking chill because you're like, you're trying to trigger shit right now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
So that's a funny story that you say because, again, on our first, it was basically like our first like mission, like our first week our first mission lasted like 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the first like 2 days was like the CB, that kid thing, all that bad shit happened. And then like the next like couple days, bro, we went out and we found an IED. And I knew from looking at this IED that this was not made for like, people. It wasn't an anti-personnel IED. It was an anti-vehicular IED specifically designed. And I knew that it needed more than 200, 300, 400 pounds to set it off, right? And I said that walking up to it. I was like, bro, there's something here. Because I can see it out the window. And I go, stop the truck. There's something right there. I'm going to go out there and go look at it. And I go out there and go sweep up to it and I go look at it. And my buddy, speaking of your friend digging and poking holes and shit, my buddy just walks up and goes, bro, is it, he goes, are you sure it's meant for vehicles? And I go, yeah, dude, it has to be. There's no foot traffic around here. There's only vehicles. So there's, me thinking, why would they put a fucking personnel IED out here? He goes, all right. He literally walks over to it, bro, and he jumps on this fucking
Oh
thing.
my god, dude.
He jumps on it. Like, I mean, I literally have a message. I can go on my phone right now where he messaged me like last year, and he goes, bro, I think about that day almost all day long in my life, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, bro. And I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is a message and conversation I had recently, dude. Like, he goes, he literally walks into it, and he goes, it's for trucks, right? I go, yeah, for sure. He goes, all right, boom. I'm like,
dude, what? Yeah, what the fuck? That's insane.
I'm like, bro, what the fuck did you do that for? He goes, oh, it's for trucks, bro. It's fine. I'm like, yeah, but
what if it wasn't?
Fuck, dude. I was like, what the fuck? He goes, that's fine. I was like, you're fucking nuts. But
people start to lose it over there, man. They get too much they get into it too much,
Listen, man, on his first deployment, they lost a few guys.
Oh, I bet.
No, on his first deployment, they lost some guys. And some guys that were like his good friends. So he on our second deployment, he was what our company called the best sweeper, right? But he had a very shitty attitude about like everything else. You know what I mean? He would go find IEDs. But he was very like, man, fuck that, fuck you, I don't give a fuck. He was, he was just like, fuck you guys, you know what I mean? Because of what happened on our first deployment, and because he was so good at finding IEDs, maybe, I don't know if he felt like responsible for not finding the ones that killed his friends. I don't know, man, you know what I mean? I don't know what people think, what people go through when all these things happen to them and shit, So, but yeah, man, he jumped on that shit, and that, you reminded me of that, and I was like, god damn it. But yeah, that happened. I was like, you're fucking nuts. That was a funny day. And then, yeah, man, the Operation Blacksand thing was cool. We had a lot of fun with that. And then basically we would push up the Sangin, we'd go back and forth. And then my last thing that I did was called Operation Eastern Storm. And it was a push up to Kajaki up in northern Sangin, up in, right around the big curve, pushing up right up to Kajaki and stuff. And right when, this was October 2011, and this is the end of October, so middle October 15th, 20th, 25th, 24th, 23rd, 22nd, 21st, right around that time. This was I feel like I definitely glossed over like a lot of like bad shit that happened over there, you know what I mean? Like people stepping on IEDs and this and that, like EOD dudes stepping on IEDs and shit like that, because, I don't really want to get into that, too much of that shit, but yeah, man, the last like basically 2 weeks we were there, our whole company was sitting at Leatherneck waiting to go back home. Like basically everybody's out basically back at Leatherneck sitting there going, oh, we got internet, we got hot food, we got hot showers, we got clean clothes, blah blah blah. And then mind you, our platoon, second platoon, is still out in Sangin putting in fucking work because our lieutenant and our company commander are like best friends. So our company commander's like, yeah, second platoon can do it up until it's like the very last like moment that they can be out there, then they got to come back, right? So like we were out there, bro, and then when we rode back to Leatherneck, we unpacked all of our shit out of our trucks, counted our fucking ammo, and I think like the next day, dude, or like the day after that, we were on a fucking plane out of there. And like everybody else had like a month to like
decompress and shit,
do whatever they want, and we didn't. We had like a 48-hour, 72-hour like window of like, all right, we're back, pack up, unload, get everything clean everything up, clean your weapons, get everything good to go, take a shower, clean your clothes, go get some hot food, and we're on a fucking plane. We're going to fucking Kyrgyzstan. And I was like, Jesus fuck, dude. And
yeah.
So, but I mean, I didn't actually like. So while I was in Afghanistan, I put in a package to go to MARSOC's assessment selection. I spent a lot of time putting this package together before I went. And while I was in Afghanistan, my lieutenant and me, he was like, yo, let's get this shit done. Well, every single time we went back to Leatherneck, I wasn't doing stupid, trivial shit. My lieutenant would always take me to go do something cool, be like, yo, you need to get this done for your shit, so let's go get that done. You need to get this done for your paperwork, so let's go get that done. So my lieutenant was always like, I got my fingerprints done in Afghanistan, dude.
Yeah, that's cool. He was helping you out. You know, a
Yeah,
lot of
like
people
shit, like
won't.
yeah, of course, nobody would have, right? So like he really helped me out a lot. He really got a lot of my shit done. He was like, yo, you're gonna fucking do great, blah blah blah. And I really kind of fucked myself because I could have spent a lot of my other extra time like training and like basically getting my shoulder in a lot better position than it could have been, right? So I definitely could have done a lot of things different, but like again, I had a lot of responsibilities in my second deployment, dude. I had a lot of shit going on. And again, we're sweeping, you get hit by IEDs, you're getting gunfights. There's a lot of things that go on, man, that like emotionally detach you from motivational things that you want to do in your life, right? So like motivationally speaking, I just wasn't there for me to like PT while I was in Afghanistan. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gonna PT while I was in Afghanistan. Like I'm not doing that, bro. Like sorry, I'm going on a mission tomorrow, and then my missions last like fucking 48 hours. You know what I mean? I got to stay awake that whole entire time essentially to like make sure we're going the right fucking way because nobody else is going to make sure we're going the right way because that's not their job. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
my job, so I got to do that. So I can't really sleep. So I'm not going to go work out when I get out like a good 18-hour break. I'm not going to go work out. I'm going to sleep for like 8 hours. I'm going to go get some fucking chow. I'm going to go get on the internet for like 30 minutes. I'm going to come back. I'm going to watch a fucking funny ass movie and take my mind off of the fact that like I'm getting hit by fucking IEDs every goddamn day. So like, I wasn't about working out and shit. So basically, I got back from Afghanistan on Halloween. I landed in North Carolina on Halloween 2011, and my MARSOC recruiter was like, I ran a PFT when I got back, and he was like, "Oh, bro, you're good, dude. You're fucking good. You're good to go." And I was like, "All right, you say I'm good to go." He's like, "I was trying to go for the March it was like the March April selection, but he was like, bro, you're gonna go to we're gonna put you in the January selection. I was like, all right. And mind you, I just got back from Afghanistan, like 2 months prior. So I was those 2 months I just got back. That's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna hammer out this PT and really go hard. And I went really fucking hard. And my ex brother-in-law was a MARSOC CSO. He was already in MARSOC. He was in third Marine Raider. He was at the time it was MSOB, so he was
Yeah.
in third MSOB or whatever at the time, MRB now. But he was in MSOB and he was like, bro, I PT'd with him nonstop and shit when I got back, and him and I were just going ham. And I was really getting into it, and him, we were doing it, and so I was going to the pool every day and running and hiking and this and that. But I went to A&S, dude, and I fucking blew out my fucking shoulder while I was there. And they were like, they told me, they're like, yeah, heal up your shoulder and come back and try it again. And I was like, all right. And my contract ended in fucking April, and it was like February, and I was like, so I went back to my, career guy or whatever the fuck his name was,
Career
the
planner. Yeah.
yeah, career planner guy. I went to them. And I was like, yo, can I extend my contract, heal up my shoulder, and go back to A&S, like in like whatever it is, April or whatever it is. And he's like, no, we don't have any slots for extensions. I was like, okay, typical. I was like, so can I re-enlist? And he's like, no, we don't have any re-enlistment slots open. Any boat spaces, all the boat spaces are filled. I was like, all right, so what are my options? Like, I want to stay in. I want to go back to A&S and try out. They told me I can come back. So, like, they didn't fail me. So, like, they told me I can come back. So, I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I want to heal up and go back. And they're like, well,
Excuse me.
they're like, your best bet, they basically said your best bet is to go to a different MOS, get a different MOS, go to that school, and then once you get to the fleet, then put another package from our side.
What? That sounds so
Yeah.
stupid.
And I was like, bro, I told them right then I was there, I was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I'm definitely not doing that. I was like, I'm not. I was like, I'm fucking not. So I went to my lieutenant, my guy, my lieutenant, my guy, his call sign was Drago,
Mm.
fucking Rocky and shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I go to Drago and I'm like, hey man, what do I do? Like my shoulder's fucked, it's compromised. I can't extend. I can't stay in the Marine Corps. I can't go become an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. And I don't know if I honestly didn't even think about going to becoming EOD. It was not even on my radar at the time. It should have been because would have probably been a really good route, but it just wasn't on my radar. But I was like, yeah, I don't know what I should do. And I told him, he's like, he's like, we saw a bunch of bad shit. A bunch of bad shit happened to us in Afghanistan. He's like, get out, man. He's like, if you can't stay in, he's like, get what you can from the fucking VA and go home and
go live.
yeah, go relax and go live your life, man. Go to college, go start a family, go do something, go do whatever. I was like, I was like, all right, well, I went to the VA and did my thing, bro, and I was proactive about it, and I got home on July. I think I got home on like July 4th, 2012, and I arrived back in Florida on July 4th, 2012, and I started living my life, man. I started going back to school, and I went to school from like 2012 to like 2015, but it wasn't right in the like right mind frame because obviously, spending time in Afghanistan twice and then, getting out of the Marine Corps and whatever, I just wasn't in the right mindset. So like I stopped going to school and I came to the conclusion of like, I'm gonna follow on my poetry thing a little bit. And that's when I started writing my first book, and I wrote my first book, and then while I was on my first book tour, my girlfriend sent me a text message and she said, I'm pregnant. And that's when I decided that I'll try to make it a real thing and keep going with it. And then, because if I'm gonna have a son, if I'm gonna have a kid, I'm gonna try to do my best to give them something that like my parents didn't really. My parents gave me a structured life to where like, all right, they were divorced or whatever. I lived with my mom, she did her best, whatever. But like, I want to give my kid like a legacy, right? I want to give my kid like a legacy, a name that he can like, when my kid's graduating high school, I don't want him to be like, all right, well, fuck, what do I do now? I don't have any money for college. I don't have this, I don't have that, whatever. I want my kid to be like smart and have a path, and I want him to have a foundation of something, right? So that's what I was like, all right, I'm going to write a second book. And I wrote a second book that came out in 2018, about a month before, about a month before my book, sorry, about a month before my son was born, I released my second book. So a month after my second book was released, my son was born on July 10th, 2018. And then I released my third book, The Art of Warrior Poetry, and that won the 2019 Robert A. Gannon Award for Poetry from the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. And then I wrote The Sun Rises in Helmand, and me being me, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to submit my book again because they're probably not going to accept the same guy 2 years in a row, for winning. But I mean, I feel like my poetry is, award winning. I feel like it needs to be shared with, people. And I submitted it and it won a second year in a row. So my fourth book, The Sun Rises in Helmand, won the 2020 Robert A. Gannon Award for Poetry, Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. And then, then I wrote my fifth book, From Now Until Death I Shall. And then I wrote my sixth book, War and Select Poems. And then I wrote that one in May, published it in 2020 last year. And that was the last poetry book I wrote. And then, and actually in August of 2019, I went back to school. And I went back to a real university, not like a community college. And now I graduated at the end of the month with my bachelor's degree in political science at April 29th. And I'm in the middle of finalizing all of my art and all of the cover art and all of the actual interworkings of my new book, which is my first stab at fiction, my first like literary fiction, historical fiction, fantasy, saga, epic thing. And that actually kind of goes into like the creation of like, the Continental Marines and Tun Tavern and Robert Mullen and Samuel Nicholas and all this other stuff. So it's really fun to, do that. But yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at now, man.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I'm also graduating here in a couple months, and I'm so ready for it. It's like at first, getting out of the Marines and stuff, I was like, obviously, I'm going to use my GI Bill. At least try it out. You can't. In my opinion, it's like if you're not even going to at least try to use it for something, like you don't have to go become a writer. You don't have to go become a scientist. You can use it to go learn how to weld.
Right, exactly.
Use it for something. And so when I got out and I did that, at first, my first thoughts were, I don't want to go to a community college because that's not like real school or whatever. And I was so wrong, man. Like, I'm glad I went to community college first for a year, and I realized, at least here in California, I think most of the students, or at least quite a few of them, go to community college for a year or two and then go to the regular schools out of that. You know, I didn't realize it was that common and everything like that. And it was a good for me. School wasn't that bad because I had just come off of MU, so I've been in school on ship anyway. I've been floating around, and I don't know. I'm a little older, so I had a different mindset than I would have if I would have tried going when I was like 18, you know, right out of high school and stuff like that. And I tell guys, I'm like, you know, the cool part is you get to pick your own classes. You know, you get to pick what you want to learn about. Like, yeah, you got to learn science, but what about science do you want to learn? Well, shit, I'll learn about natural disasters, you know. Yeah. That's like one of the classes I took. So school is definitely a good thing for people to do, and I'm glad that you went back. You know, it's not for a lot of jobs. It's not a requirement. A degree is a nice to have, but I understand. Right. I understand what you're saying too. Being the product of a divorced parents. Same way. My mom was single mom. You know, 3 kids. She's on a high school education. There was zero talk about college in my house. Right. There was zero talk. You know, like that wasn't even for me, my brother or my sister. Like my mom wouldn't have even known how to apply to school. You know what I'm saying? Like my family is from like the hills of Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? We're like, that's how it's kind of my mom's side of the family. Well, just like hillbillies and stuff, you know.
From like Georgia, from like southern middle of Georgia. You know what I mean? They're very like, you know, hick like that too. Like they're very just like they don't. They're just like, well, I'm going to go work my job and make my money and pay my bills, and I'm going to be happy.
They're manual labor people. My grandma and them would go and clean houses and stuff like that. They did shit like that, you know, and stuff. So I know exactly what you're talking about. There's no, you want your kids to have it better. You know what I'm saying? Like I always said as my kids gotten older, I'm like, I will never buy him a pair of shoes from Walmart. I will never buy him a pair of shoes that doesn't, you know, because I remember having to go to school with like Voigt fucking tennis shoes and getting made fun of and shit like that. And I was like, dude, I don't want that for my kid. You know, that's a struggle. It's a stupid struggle for a kid to have, and like it's not necessary. So
if you can avoid that for your child, then you should. Right? You know, that's why I feel the same way. Like, and it's like the son should always be better than the father. Like you want to be the. That's what I think. Like evolutionary, like we are as human beings. Like you want to be better than what came before you. Right?
For sure.
Like my grandpa, you know, on my mom's side, you know, he married at the age of like 17. You know, he married and he had a kid at the age of 18 years old, and that's my aunt. You know, and then he had a kid at 18, so then he had to adapt to that. You know, so he went to community college classes and tried to do that, but you know, things happen and bills happen and whatever. So
life happens.
Yeah. So he made the best for his life, and I feel like my grandpa, dude, my mom's dad is like, I feel like he's lived a cool ass fucking life, bro. I mean, his like second cousin or something married Steve McQueen. So.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So like, I mean, he's been like
random family facts.
Yeah, he went dune bugging with like Steve McQueen one time.
That'd be
so
cool.
Like. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He's lived like a cool fucking life. Like, like he had like a time where he went like scuba diving in like the 70s. Like that was a thing he did, right? And then also like in the 70s, he did like motorsports, like biking or like dirt biking and like dune buggies and shit. Because down in South Florida, he did what we do down here, right? Like you. Dirt biking and scuba diving and like, you know, like boating and fishing and all this other fun shit. Like that's the shit that he did, and he worked for like the local electrical company for like 30 years, and he retired when he got throat cancer, and now he talks with a little metal box.
Oh, with the box? Oh man.
But you can still hear his like southern accent in his voice, dude.
Oh really?
Which is he's so
that's
cool.
Crazy.
Man. It's a cool shit. But it's like you want to, you know, and my mom, you know, she's a product of that. So she didn't get pregnant at 18 and have to worry about all that. You know what I mean? She like went to a high school and had, you know, a fun, like, you know, growing up in the 80s and this and that. She lived a better like social life than like my grandpa lived, and that's like the goal, right?
Always a step up. Yeah, we're always stepping up.
And like my mom has been providing, you know, financially, you know, for me my whole life until like obviously I got to the age I could provide for myself, whatever, obviously. But I'm saying like she did a very good job for what she had, right? She worked her jobs and
For sure.
she has a very strong career and she does really well in her field and and she's very smart. Granted she doesn't have a college education, but she's a smart person. She makes good decisions. She makes a good amount of money. She doesn't have like crazy amount of bills. She doesn't have any debt and shit. Like, she's not like dumb, dude. So it's like I want to be better. I want to emulate these people, right? I want to emulate their strengths, and I want to make it better for my kid, right? I want to be a college graduate. I want my kid to go. My dad was a published writer. And my dad is a college grad, or my dad was a veteran, or whatever it is, whatever the case may be. I want my kid to look and go, like, have some sort of like real tangible hero that is in front of them. Because like when I grew up, like my dad was around, yeah, but was he like some sort of somebody that I could like really go, wow, this is my hero? No, he wasn't. So like and that's unfortunate. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, and I don't want that for my son. I want my son to go when he's older. I want him to go, fuck, man, my dad really did put in the work for me to have a life that is something that maybe I wouldn't have, and
For sure.
maybe he's not gonna, understand that or respect it until he's older, until I'm not even around, maybe. Who knows? But I'm not. It's not for him to appreciate, you know what I mean? It's just for me to give him and to him to do whatever he wants with, right? So I want to be a better version of that. So yeah, I mean, I love the fact I did go to community college for a few years, and it didn't work out for me. I mean, I tried and I wasted my GI Bill essentially, and I gaffed off my grades, and I when I applied to Florida Atlantic University, I had like a 2.3 GPA, and I was out of school for like 3 or 4 years, dude, or like 4 years, and I was like, fuck, I hope I get accepted into this fucking school.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to go back to college. I want to stop working manual labor jobs. I've written a
For
few
sure.
books.
Yeah.
I've already won. At that point, I've only won one award for one of my books. At that point, I've only written three. So I was like, I want to, I've written some books. I kind of feel like I have like a career kind of going with that a little bit. But I want to better myself. I want to go to college. I want to, I want to do this now. I want to really go now and fucking do it, right? And I applied to the school, and my boss went on vacation for like 2 weeks. My landscaping job that I had, and he's a really piece of shit kind of guy. He talked down to you every single time he got the chance. And when he came back from vacation, he goes, "Oh, you really ran my company really well. There was no complaints. I'm going to give you a 25-cent raise." And I go, "Hey man, I really do appreciate the raise, but I quit. I got accepted at Florida Atlantic University, and I'm a veteran, and I'm going to use my GI Bill, and I'm going to get paid like triple the amount of money to go to school than you're paying me now, and I'm going to actually better myself in my education, and I'm not going to get talked down to like I'm a fucking asshole, and I don't deserve this shit." And I told him all that shit straight up, and he looked at me like I was crazy, but just like, huh,
There you go.
okay, yeah, and I literally I went home like that day.
And went and did your thing, huh? That's awesome,
Um,
man. More guys, more people need to have. That's what kills me in like today's society. If you want to say it like that, like I'm an old dude. About there's no drive, man. People just don't have the drive to go do things. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of it is because of their situation. Maybe you're in a shitty town and or whatever. But there's a, almost all the time there's a way for someone to better their own situation, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? And it's very frustrating when you hear people bitch about stuff. The same people that you've seen just waste their lives away, and rather than go to school or something, or rather than even go to a trade, not even necessarily school, maybe go get into the trades and get a good job. I know guys back home that I used to smoke weed with back in the day, and I was one of the few people that's all I ever did. That's all I ever wanted to do, just, smoke a little weed, whatever. Everyone else moved on to bigger and better things, if you will. Dudes are doing like meth and shit like that.
yeah, but look where you're at now.
But I hear about these dudes that were like, they're like, oh, well, this dude's an electrician, and he was like 2 years into the apprenticeship program, and then he popped on a piss test, and now he's out of the union, and he can't work in the unions, and now he's working like a really shitty job, and it's like, it's hard for me to feel bad for people like that when it's like, dude, you see the route you're going down. You gotta at some point, I don't know, maybe I'm being too judgy, maybe, I don't know, but if you see someone like that, you gotta tell them, stop them, be like, look at what you're doing, man. And anyways, I'm rambling now, but I just wanted to say, I think it's awesome that you're going for your dream. You know what I'm saying? You're doing writing. Like I've got your book. I've got The War and Select Poems. I picked this up on Amazon, and I've been flipping
That's
through that
amazing.
and stuff. I'm not a big poetry guy, but dude, I'll flip through it and get some inspirational words. I'll use it for some of my Instagram posts later on. If I steal any of your words, I'll make sure to tag you in them.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but it's like you're out there doing it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sure at first it's weird. You know what I'm saying? You're like, man, people are I'm gonna write poetry. Like, like,
That's what it was at first. At first, it was definitely like, at first I wrote a poem called "Not Today," and it was a poem that in Afghanistan. Well, I didn't talk about it a lot because it's one of those things. But I stepped on a few IEDs, here and there, that either they low ordered or they didn't go off at all. So I'm luckily I still have both my legs. I received a sprained ankle from one, but it's not, nothing too serious. But I there's a poem. It's called "Not Today," and it's about stepping on an IED and it going off and it not killing you. And then after all the dust is settled and the crater is in front of you, there's some sort of like beauty and like seeing like your buddies and like still being alive and still smelling like the earth, re-smelling it for what it is now after whatever you just experienced, right? And I felt like that was a pretty beautiful thing that I wrote. I wrote that in 2013, 2014, just for shits and giggles, man. And then I wrote down a dream one time, and I wrote a dream about seeing some Native Americans in like the redwood forest, and they were all bloodied and bruised. And as soon as I looked up at them, they told me to like, they put their fingers over their lips and they told me to like shush. And I woke up and I wrote that out as like a poem kind of. And as soon as I wrote both of those out, I kind of shared them with some people, and everybody was like, you need to harness whatever that is that you've tapped into, and you need to like run with it, and you
it's
need
great,
to
man.
go. And that's kind of like what I've done, and that's what I've done. That's what I've been doing, and it is definitely very weird to be like, oh, I'm writing poetry about combat and shit. But like at the end of the day, it's like if you read my poetry and you really read my books, it's very violent, it's very gruesome, and it's very hard for me to get to those places and to write that poetry. So it's for me. I mean, I for my first book, I wrote a lot of haikus, and a haiku is only 17 syllables. You got 575. It's a very strict constraints you got to keep it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to challenge myself because I wanted to get into poetry hard. And I was like, what's the hardest way to challenge yourself with poetry is to kind of perfect the haiku. And I tried to do that at first, right? And I feel like I did perfect. I have like over 50 or 60 haikus in my first book. And this lady who was my editor of the book, she told me, she goes, I don't think I've ever seen anybody write as many haikus as this that are like, she said something along the lines of like, basically, she's never seen anybody write haikus like that. But anyway, like, I found something that I could do, right? That wasn't looking for IEDs. It wasn't landscaping. It wasn't
It's something you
scuba diving.
enjoyed, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, I enjoy scuba diving, but I don't want to do it as a fucking job.
Yeah, yeah.
And I found myself scuba diving as a fucking job, and I don't want to do that. Then it takes the fun away from like being underwater and seeing this underwater world. I mean, yeah, and is it fun doing it? Yeah, but dude, I have to manage all these other people underwater, and I don't want to fucking be managing these other people. I want to be observing,
Enjoying it, yeah.
enjoying it. So now it's a job. It's not enjoyable. Do I enjoy landscaping and mowing my lawn outside and making sure like the instant gratification of seeing that clean, crisp line of a new edge and blowing all the dirt away? Fuck yeah. But when I'm doing it for fucking $600 a week and I'm working fucking 60 hours, 70 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's not fun. And then when
For
I'm getting
sure.
talked down to by some asshole boss, like no, dude. And it's like I finally have found something that I can say is like mine. And I can say that this is a realm of like literature that was nearly untouched when I got here. There's poets from World War I, and there's poets from like Vietnam, and there's a few poets from like the nowadays, right? There's like Brian Turner. Up until like I'm telling you now, when I in 2017, when I published my book in November 2017, there was no other poetry like veteran poetry books that were out there between me and Brian Turner, like that I found. When I
Mm-hmm.
did my research and I spent the summer of 2017 going, all right, if I'm going to write a poetry book, Let me look and see my research and see what sort of competition that I'm going to have out there of like other veteran style poets. I found none. I found Brian Turner and some guys from like, the Gulf War or Vietnam or Korea or World War II or mainly World War One. And if I didn't really find anything from now. So when I started doing this, I was like, cool, man, I'm going into a world where there's nobody going to be at, right? I'm going into a world where I can essentially, I'm not going to say I can make the rules, but I mean, I can essentially make the rules of whatever I want to do, right? I'm not going into a veteran knife world, and I'm not starting out a company and going to go make a bunch of knives and I have to look at all these other veteran companies that are making knives and I got to figure out, all right, how are they doing it? How can I be different, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody doing this right now in 2017. So if I enter it, guess what? I'm already unique. I'm already here doing it. Nobody else is here. And when I published my first book, a second book was a second veteran I saw published a poetry book in December, right around like a month after I published my book. But we're on different tracks and different people, so it's like there is like three veterans that like individually we all came to the same kind of idea of like there's nobody in this world of writing poetry, so let's do that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that we can explore these, and the two other guys I'm talking about are the two other guys that I was in a documentary film called More Than Our War. And More Than Our War is a poem from one of the guys. His name is Leo Jenkins. Leo Jenkins was an Army Ranger, 75th Ranger Battalion, and he has written a few books, several books actually, I believe, several, not a few, several books. He's a very, very, very talented writer, very talented poet. He came out with a book that came out, I think, like February or March of 2018. And then David Rose is a Marine, and David Rose is a very another talented writer, poet. He wrote a book called No Joy, Recon Marine story, but it was originally titled Spent Shell Casings. That came out in like 2013, 14, I think. And then he redid it to No Joy. But David Rose is another great writer. He was a recon marine in Iraq, and he was a contractor in Afghanistan. But now he's a writer. He's a very talented published writer now, and now he writes like dark fiction, fantasy now, like horror stuff. It's really good. But both of those guys, it's like all three of us kind of came to the same understanding. Like there's poetry out here. There's no veteran poetry out here. There's like lacking. And if
Mm-hmm.
we could fill that void, maybe we could start something, right? Maybe we could do something. And now in 2021, you have so I mean, there's like the collection of like the 15, like 12 to 15 of the poets, like the veteran poets that are in like actively being, writing poetry in the veteran community on like social medias. And then, that's a lot from
Yeah.
4 years
Yeah.
ago. It's a lot of guys that were like, wow, look at these dudes. They're opening themselves up emotionally, on a whole nother level that is kind of like, I mean, it blows you away. And I mean, if you listen to these words, I mean, you listen to David Rose's poetry. I mean, it's beautiful poetry. And if you listen to Leo Jenkins speak his poetry, like an orator,
Mm-hmm.
like that guy in person, that's like something that everybody needs to go and see. That's like something everybody should just pay a ticket and go see him do his orator thing, because it is absolutely everybody I feel like can learn something from that too. So, but yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot of us. There's a good amount of us now that are veterans that are like writing poetry, and now that I feel like I've made my mark. I've written 6 books. I've done my thing. I've written 6 of my poetry books. I feel like that's good for now. I need to take my stab at fiction. I want to write fiction. I want to write something that is not poetry. I have my own creative stories. I have stories and characters and things I want to do, and plots and points I want to tell. So it's like I want to start doing that now. So
That's legit, dude.
yeah,
That's
I'm
like
excited for that.
the key. I mean, I think what it all boils down to is just do something you love. There's too many guys, there's too many people in general, not just military or veterans, that work for the weekend. You know, they go in, they dread going into work. They're fucking miserable all day. They get off work and then they dread the next day going into work. You know, and it's like, do you really want to live like that? You know, it's sometimes you gotta, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like there's people got to do some of these jobs. There's people out there that want to do it. But if you feel like you can do something better, if you feel like you can start a company or write poetry or do whatever, you're never going to know until you try it. And just that first step of like giving it a shot is what stops probably 95% of the people from doing something that they would just love to do. But they're just afraid to either start out. How am I going to switch careers? Dude, I'm 37. You know, I'm 37 years old. I'm over here finishing up college and I'm starting a podcast and all this other shit, you know? And it's like, sometimes you got to take that leap, man. If you, and hopefully the rewards are worth it. You know, that's what I'm like you. I'm looking at like, I'm just wanting to leave a positive legacy, you know, for my family, for my kid, and make some money along the way and just kind of enjoy my time I have here on earth, because it's limited. And why would I want to spend my limited time in a shitty job that I don't want to be at, you know?
There's a lot. So you reminded me of something that I just saw recently, man. You know, Audrey Hepburn, right? Okay. So Audrey Hepburn has a quote that she says, I'm going to paraphrase, so I don't want anybody to get mad at me, whatever, if it's not exactly right, but it's like along the lines of like, if you do hard work every day for your whole entire life, it's not hard work if it's something that you love, right? Like it's along the lines of like that, right? Like what everybody always says, like if you do something you love, it's not going to be hard work, right? Like what she's saying, you know, it's basically what she's saying, right? Like, you know, and I work really fucking hard on my writing, dude. I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how much time and effort and energy I've put into writing this new novel, this new book that I've written. I have almost 106,000 words, and I put almost 80,000 of those words in the last 3 months. So it's like I'm building a world essentially, you know, and I'm having a fucking blast while I do it. And is it hard work? Does my back hurt, my hands, so my wrists hurt, and sitting here and I got to do this? And it's like, I got to draw this shit? I got to do all this, and all of it. Do I have to do all this? I don't have to do all this stuff to make it the way it is, but it's like
it's better than shoveling mulch.
I'm a perfectionist in my way of my writing, and it's like I want people to know the story that I've written and how I know it to be, and I want them to hear it and read it how I wanted to know it, and I want it to be perfect. So yeah, man, I've definitely put in a lot of my work to do this, and definitely a lot of hard work to get here and to do this shit. And like you're saying, it's like you definitely want to leave a legacy, man. You want to leave something that's going to be, you know, I mean, I definitely want to make money along the way, and that's why I go to school. You know, I go to school because I'm getting my bachelor's degree, and now I can go get a job, like an entry-level job, making like $50K a year, and I haven't made more than $25,000 a year my whole entire life. I mean, when I was in the Marine Corps, I think I made like $35,000.
Yeah.
But since I've been out of the Marine Corps, dude, I haven't made any more than $25,000 since. And I got out of the Marine Corps in 2012. It's been almost 10 years.
That's crazy.
That I've been living every single year making less than $22,000 a fucking year, and living off that, and living happily, and living off of and eating fine, you know, paying all my bills fine, and whatever it is fine. So you tell me that's all I've been living off of, and if I can go get my bachelor's degree and just go get an entry-level job for 40-50K a year, dude,
you're set. You're good.
That's like double the amount of money, bro. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, am I working 9 to 5? Yeah, but my ultimate goal is to get my book out of here signed to a big publishing house. You know, I want to attract a literary agent that understands my passion and reads my story and goes, holy shit, this is really fucking good.
For sure.
And you need this story to be told. So I need somebody to believe in me, dude, that has those sort of connections and is in that profession, that can take my book and then put it on the desk of somebody who goes, all right, that makes the decision on whether this book is now going to be in every fucking store around the world because we're the third largest publishing house in New York City, whatever the fucking case is. That's my end game goal, right? That's my end game goal, is for that to happen, because I have a trilogy. I have essentially what they call like a tent house story, like a tent pole story. I have I have a trilogy that basically can be not broken down, but once the trilogy is completed, you can do prequel type books, right? That are that basically from what I've calculated, there's like 15 books that I could write after the trilogy, like 15 to 20 books after the trilogy that would take place like before the trilogy even happens, right? So it would give you a lot more backstory on like the world and all these other
That's
characters
pretty
and all sort
cool.
of shit.
That's
So
pretty
like
cool to be able to do that.
yeah, like some of the characters that die early on in the book, like they're really memorable characters, but they die pretty early on in the book. Those are characters that I could write books for their entire life. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like those
Yeah,
are because they're really memorable, really good characters, but they die very early on. They kind of give the main character some sort of like, you know,
no, I know what you're
mo-
saying.
motivations and stuff. But yeah, man, there's like I have this story, so it's like that. My main goal is that. But you know, if that doesn't work out, I'm getting a bachelor's degree in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I've also been accepted to the graduate program at my school. So I'm gonna start my master's program in August of this year. So it's like, you
That's
know,
awesome, man. You got
yeah,
options. See, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're creating options for yourself. You know what I'm
that's
saying? Have that
trying. I'm
5 year
trying.
goal. You know, have that 5 year plan, and just kind of what do I need to make these things happen? You know, and guys need to do that. Guys need to take advantage of all the opportunities that we have as veterans. There's so many of them, and just kind of make their mark on the world in whatever way they can. You've done it now with 6 books. I'm going to wrap this up because we're at 3 hours.
But yeah, we're at Avengers Endgame time here.
I know it's crazy, but hey, where can everyone find your books? Do you have a website, or are they on Amazon, or what?
So you can Google Justin Eggen, or you can go to Amazon and go type in Justin Eggen, JUSANEGGEN, or you can go to my website at www.jtecollection.com. Yeah, and that's yeah.
Cool,
And then
man.
go follow me on Instagram at Justin Thomas Eggen.
Yeah, and I'll put your Instagram name up on the screen for the YouTube viewers, and I will put your link for your website in the show notes so that people can check it out there. Outside of that, I mean, is there anything else you want to wrap up with? Are you all good?
Dude, I mean, first of all, thank you for
For
having me
sure.
on. I had a blast, man. Honestly, this is probably one of the best conversations I think I've had in a while, just because we're talking about Marine Corps stuff, and I don't really. A lot of times I do these podcasts, and a lot of times we're talking about poetry, we're talking about my books, we're talking about the things that I'm doing with my writing, and it's really good to kind of cleanse it out with some good old Marine Corps, Afghanistan talk, and to revisit some of those like terrible fun times. So it was a really good time, and I really had a blast, and I really do thoroughly enjoy talking to you. And it's probably because we have the same name that it works out.
The Justins, it is what it is, dude. No, it was a great time for me too, man. A really good time for sure. When your next book comes out, definitely hit me up, and we'll have you back on. Or if it's going to be a little bit, you can come on and give us an update and stuff like that, and we just
July 4th, July
kind of
4th is looking to drop it.
nice. Well, let's set something up. I don't know what you are, if you do like pre-orders and stuff like that, but we could set something up either before or after it drops. Your choice. Just let me know. Yeah, so everyone check it out. Check out my show notes, and you'll see his website and stuff there. I'll put all that information there. Make sure to check out my website, jkramergraphics.com. My Instagram's at formeractionguys and at jkramergraphics, both of those. I've been shooting a lot more photography because I'm coming to the end of my career in college also, so I've been trying to update my portfolio. So if you're interested in the photography, check out my other Instagram. I have too many of my 4, I think, now. J Kramer Media is my photography one, and jkramermedia.com is actually my photography website, which I've never promoted on this podcast before. You can go in there and check out some of my photos. And then outside of that, again, Justin, thanks for coming on, and I hope everyone enjoyed the episode.